Greetings, greetings. This is Miss Chantell. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. I'm gonna check my audio real quick before I get into my talk. I hope you guys had a good day or having a good day so far. Likely had a good day. I hope you guys had a good day and a wonderful night. Yes, Miss Chantell has had a good day and having a wonderful night. Let me check my volume. I don't know why I did that. Okay. So I got the thumbs up here. Testing, 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 testing. That sounds great. That's, that sounds great. A little slow lag there. Right, let's get into this combo tonight. Let's get back to my channel. It's an interesting conversation tonight. Mm, it's an interesting conversation. Ooh, You know, I promote, I definitely promote people. Let me make sure my thing is propped so you can hear me. I definitely promote people meditating, learning how to take time out your day to meditate. What's this? Remove from, no, we don't want to do that. Check my volume. Oh yeah, that was way loud. So I definitely promote um, people taking the time to meditate. You know what I mean? Because meditation is good for your mind. It's good for your soul. It's good for you. Okay. Um, it is a time to reflect, a time to evaluate yourself and your happenings. You know, and sometimes we need to do that because sometimes we could be the problem and don't realize it. You know, because we don't take time to evaluate our behavior and make sure we are treating others the way we want to be treated. And sometimes we're just all about ourselves, which is a form of selfishness. You know what I mean? And it's no reciprocity in that. I think it's a wonderful thing to always make the other person feel loved and cherished and let them know that's what you expect in return. Because I do believe in reciprocity now. Okay, I'm not giving, and nothing is coming back. Oh no, we don't. I don't do that. No, no, and no, no. Okay, that is not selfish. Reciprocity is not selfish. Okay, that's what relationships are based on. You get, you give. You give, you get. It has to be a two-way street. One person getting what they want is an imbalance and it won't work. It really won't. So I definitely believe in meditation, meditating, and meditating also allows time for you to have a clearer mind and your thoughts begin to fall in place and align about the things that you're trying to do. Your thoughts is like it just line up properly. Like I was thinking earlier today, I was writing out what I'm gonna talk about on this stream, and I was going into Pan African feminism. Of course, I'm still on the Pan African thing because we know who Africans are now. We know who they are. We know they tribal minded. We know if these white people, step back, we know those Africans gonna be tribal with us, savagely. Okay, like in Liberia, they want what you have. They're gonna take what they want. Period. Point blank. That's it. That's what it's about. That's what tribalism is about. Taking. That's why they always fighting because they constantly take savagely take what they want from other groups around them, and they don't do this to other racial groups. They only do it to other groups that they consider African, and they most definitely consider us African, which we're not. Okay, and so you guys, I mean, like the Liberians, well, they had a time building. They built that country up, and then Africans was like, I think it's about that time. Let's go ahead. Well, it was a little bit more to the Liberian takeover because see, our brothers over there, and the men were the leaders. Our brothers went there, well, was brought there, used the Caucasians' resources because they brought them there. They're like, we're going to get you to a place where you can be free and have freedom, true freedom, and all that. They brought them there. They made some business transactions with the local indigenous cannibal tribes, and they were like, we're going to we bought you this land settlement and you can build it up. We're going to assist you and help you financially with the materials to do these things. And the brothers was like, all right, all right. So they did so as long as the white man get to keep his hand in a bucket. But after so long, our fellow American freedmen was like, I think we built up enough where we don't need them. Let's get them the F off our back. And they called him up. Yo, put the prayers on the phone. Yeah, mother, we don't need you no more. You low down, dirty, stinking, you old deep, you just F off. All right. So they broke away from the Caucasians and they became an independent nation. Okay. They became independent. They didn't rely on Caucasians any longer. They only took what they needed for a certain amount of time and a certain amount of building. They did not rely on them permanently, and Caucasians did not have a hand in Liberia, the settlement of Liberia growing to its peak, which it wasn't at its peak. It was really getting there really quickly, though. But here's the what people don't really talk about part. After the American freedmen dismissed the Caucasians' hand from the pocket, you can say, the resources they wanted control of in Africa. They went back to the cannibals, the indigenous Africans, and they were like, hey guys, why are you letting these few American freedmen control you? Don't you want to have live good and all of that, and they don't want to allow you to be a part? Who do they think they are? It's more of you than them. And you can become them if you want, just as great as them. All you have to do, as you believe, is to eat them up, and you will absorb their powers. And that's exactly what they did to the ancestors, American freedmen, leaders, the men. They took them and ate them up and passed them through the tribes to be eaten, that they may absorb their powers. That's what those people believe in. That's why I always tell my son, don't mess around with them other cultures now. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Your people be believing in stuff you know nothing about. Leave that alone, sweetheart. Leave it alone. Okay, they got many beautiful, chocolate, gorgeous foundational Black American young girls walking around here that's suitable completely suitable for you. And you don't want to be going to sleep and they writing stuff all on you and doing all kinds of stuff. Ooh, ooh. Anyways, so the indigenous African cannibal tribes was like, okay. And one day out of nowhere, pop, 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 that's all they heard. In the Americo Liberian estate. Because I didn't get to do this stream where I tell y'all about how the American freedmen, when they got to Liberia and they began to build, they respected the fact that we're all different groups of people that was sold out. Our people were no dumbos. Our people was, they respected the fact that there was many, one second, this commercial is on. They respected the fact that there were many people that African kingdoms and empires sold around the world. Yes, even in the Middle East, but we're talking about the Atlantic slave trade, okay? And they knew about this. And so they didn't want to only build for themselves a land of true freedom for melanated people that was in slavery and that lived dealing in countries dealing with hostile, um, hateful people with racist structures. They wanted freedom for their fellow Das communities or Das tribes as well. When I say Das, I'm talking descendants of slaves. They wanted freedom for them too. So they welcomed them to come. They say, come to Liberia and build with us a place that's truly the land of freedom for our DOS descendants we don't have to deal with hostile people and angry, racist, hateful people that build racist structures against our people to suppress us because, they know we heck smarter than them that suppress us and all of that kind of stuff. So they sent for these people. A lot of Barbadians, Haitians, and some other ones too that escaped slavery by running up into different little inlands, islands, and stuff. And so when they got there, I'm only telling this story because I want you to understand they were the first ones to recognize delineation. It's not anything new. So when they got there first, the American freedmen called themselves Liberians, built up the country, built it up, built it up. They didn't have anything to do with the local um, indigenous Africans because when they got there, they had to fight these people because these people were still kidnapping other tribes of people, selling them to foreigners. They had to fight them to stop selling people. And you know what the African indigenous people will lie and say today? That Liberians, American freedmen, enslaved them. No such thing. Not even true. They just didn't want to have nothing to do with them because they recognized they were savage-like and dangerously tribal. Okay, when I say they're dangerously tribal, they're going to take what they want. So, from that point, let me take it back because I put in a lot of side notes. From that point, I was talking about how the American freedmen welcomed the other DOS communities, descendants of slaves, DOS communities around the world to come and experience true freedom in that settlement they built up into a nation. And it was thriving. I'm going to tell you, it was thriving. They were respected by the kings and queens of Europe and all that kind of stuff like that. They were building. It was going good. And they dismissed that Caucasian hand out the pocket, honey. And you know what that Caucasian man did. They went back to them cannibals, as I was telling y'all, and told them cannibals to, attack. Because it was more of the indigenous Africans there than the American freedmen and a few that joined them from other DOS nations. Now, when the DOS nations got there to the country, the settlement, you could say, it's a country that became a country. When it got to Liberia, the American freedmen had then already pretty much laid the foundation and built it up a good bit. They had their own estate there, living good. So when they welcomed the others, DOS communities from around the world, descendants of slave communities or DOS nations, descendants of slave nations around the world, nations within nations, okay? Because not a lot of countries that participated in slavery counted their descendant of slave nations of them as themselves. They counted them as, oh, these are descendants of slaves. Okay. So that's why I say DOS nations, because they're nations within nations, like FBA is a nation within a nation. Okay. They don't count as one with them. I'll get further into that black and, well, why you call yourself black when the white ones just say American? We'll get deeper into that. But first, I want to tell you this. Where I first read about delineation. This is not really even a form of delineation. This is a form of, would it be delineation? One second, let me see something. Resubmersion. That's, let's see. Okay. So I ain't tripping. I just asked YouTube the question. When the American Liberians welcomed the Barbadians and Haitians into Liberia, but told them to build up their own compounds in Liberia, their own communities, is that a form of delineation? And Chat GPT responded, yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm not tripping, all right? I don't got nobody up here to be the opposite voice and bring some clarity to what I'm saying, but okay, the Chat GPT, they say, absolutely, yes, absolutely. What you're describing fits squarely within delineation, especially intra-Black hierarchical delineation based on, one second, based on delineation based on origin, status, and proximity to power. Hmm. Okay. It's tied to hierarchy. I wouldn't say that hierarchy versus Barbadians. When America Liberians control the main compound separate foods and so anyways, intra-Black hierarchical delineation. Mm-mm. No, I don't quite agree with that. I'm trying to make it make sense. I don't quite agree with it, but um, let me go into my thoughts, not Chat GPT. So I can agree it was a form of delineation when they told the DOS communities in other nations to come and join us in Liberia and experience true freedom without going continuing to go through um, racial hostility in these other nations, and them having systems of uh, structured power where the black people is at the bottom, or where melanated people is at the bottom. So they said, come and join us here in Liberia. So when they came, they told them, here, we're giving you the resources to build your own compounds. We're American Liberians. That's what we're going to call ourselves now, because it's different Liberians now. And remember, I want you to remember, indigenous Africans were not Liberians. They were different tribes called by their names. So when the others went to Liberia, the American freedmen began to identify as American Liberians. Then there were the Caribbean, there were the Barbadians. Then there were the Haitians. And a lot of people that went over there, they were the ones that was educated and that could offer something to continuing to build the nation of the country of Liberia. Okay? They definitely contributed. They all became known as the Congo as one. But again, they were separate, but one. They respected each other's ethnicity, okay? But they were one, called the Congo, okay? So they worked together, yet they were different, but they worked together to continue to build a country where they can experience true freedom and so forth, so forth. Now, if the Barbadians and Haitians had built up their compounds because they were not successful in building up their compounds like the American freedmen, American Liberians. Many of them could not handle the atmosphere, the climate. It was, yeah, many of them died off too with the mosquito, because that place is Mosquitoville. It's the home of the mosquitoes. So many of them could not build, and they gave up. They gave up on continuing to build their compounds. Same with the Haitians. And so a lot of them just went back home. A lot of them had died off from the mosquito stuff, diseases, and a lot went back home. And that's what happened. But the ones that remained, they became known as the Congo with the American Liberians. And let me tell you something. That's the first sign of delineation. That was the first sign. Now, Sierra Leone, I believe they were British territories. So they operated under the British control. And the difference between Liberia and the British control Sierra Leone, the American freedmen, known as American Liberians, They cut the white man off after so long. The Sierra Leonean people, they never cut their British governing forces off. But did they have problems building a settlement up to a country in Africa? Yes, indeed, because it's tribal land. It's a tribal place. There's no laws and respect or anything like that. When the people see something they want, they just savagely plot to take it. Period. That's all to it. And so what happened was that they kept burning down their settlement over and over and over again, constantly, until the British said, listen, just give them some stuff so they can get that corn. And so as they began to give them stuff, they would leave them alone. And eventually, as they grew more and more and more, they allowed them to come into their compounds or country, you can call it, and uh, take part, participate. Okay. So it became a very mixed, culturally intermixed place, intermixed culture in Sierra Leone because they allowed the indigenous Africans to come in and mix up with them, and participate in a country and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Liberia was different. They did not do that. And plus, they were governed at first by um, American governing forces. So that was the first sign of delineation. American freedmen recognizing that we're not all the same. And they did it right. They were not the same with the indigenous Africans. They were not the same. We're talking um, mentality. They were not the same as Barbadians, nor um, Haitians, because they didn't experience the same things where they were coming from. Okay. Big ups to the American Liberians for recognizing that. Now, let's go into. Oh, and by the way, I've heard indigenous African peoples speaking as though they built Liberia, and their people never built the country. Their people stole the country and stole the people's identity and masquerading around the world as American Liberians. As Liberians, period. They stole the people's country and identity and immediately within a few months, ruined the place. Just shit it all over everywhere. Okay. Moving along. This is about learning what happens in other cultures, what happens when cultures collide, what happens when cultures have to share boundaries. This is no disrespect. We talking reality. I ain't gonna say shit it all over the place, excuse me, when it's called open defecation. Okay? We want to keep this respect. These commercials. So moving along, I told you about the history of Liberia. The collide with other cultures of people that's heavily melanated. Okay? So let's move along. When I first started talking, I was talking about Let me get back to my point. What I was talking about. I was talking about delineation. hmm I don't think delineation has nothing to do with hierarchy uh, setup. Not at all. I just don't. Some people may see it that way, but I don't think it's that at all. It's strictly keeping things organized and categorized. Because when you just let everybody mix up, you're going to have issues eventually. Let me give you a good example. And y'all know I'm biblical based, right? That's me, and you're you. I respect that you're not, and you're going to respect that I am. So, in the Bible, and you guys can look this up yourself. In the Bible, you can Google it, okay, or chat GPT it. In the Bible, when God delivered the Israelites from the Egyptians' control, who enslaved them for 400 years, when he delivered them from the Egyptians' control, it says that it was a multitude of people. It wasn't just Israelites that left Egypt. They had other groups of people that was not Israelites that left with the Israelites. They even had some Egyptians that left with the Israelites because they had made children, made a family with those Israelite women. hmm So when God got them through the Red Sea by parting it and making way for them and got them to got them all the way up to the Mount Sinai. He told them the first thing that they had to do, the very first thing they had to do was a census. Once they did a census, they then began to organize. All right. I like this right here. They begin to organize. They say, okay, all Israelites over there and other groups over here, we need to organize this camp. Once they finish organizing by saying, okay, Israelites over here, Egyptians over here, we need to know how many of these people with us, how many of these people with us. If somebody rolling with you in your camp, you need to be organized. You need to know who's who in your camp. Just having them all mixed up, you don't know who's who or anything. It's confusion. So they say, okay, all Israelites over here, all Egyptians over here, all whatever over here, because they had other people outside of the Israelites that feared the God of the Israelites because they saw what the God of the Israelites done to the Egyptians who played God with his people. Okay. So once they got there, the first thing they did was a census, counted out all the people, separated Israelites from Egyptians, from this group, from that group, and then they organized and categorized. They say, okay, there's 12 tribes of Israelites. We're all the same, but we have tribes. 12 tribes of Israelites, the 12 sons of Jacob. All the Gideonites, you go over there under your banner. That's where all of you go. All the Benjaminites, you go over here. All the um what other ones? They had I'm trying to think of the names. All the Simon Simon descendants were called not Simonites, but I think Simonites or whatever. And then all the Judah descendants were called, they called Judites. All of them were to go over there. So they organized them by tribes. Once they organized them by tribes, they counted out each tribe of men. How many men there were, how many women and children there were. And then they continued to categorize because they say, okay, we are going to have men from the age of 21, I believe it was 20 or 21 to 52. You're going to be in the military. You're military age men. One second. I'm gonna have to turn this channel because these commercials. I'm trying to like, oh, child. Hold on a second. I'm disgusted. Yeah. So, anyways, hold on. That's not. So, anyways, they say, okay, from the age of 21 to 52, you're considered military age men. So the Gadonites had 562 of military age men. Then he moved along. The Judahites had 782,000 of military age men. See, they organized and categorized. It's like me. Listen, I cannot do nothing unless I'm organized. I can't work in junk and confusion. It's too much. I have to first organize everything so I can know strictly where to go when I want something. Some people, they don't have to be organized. For me, I have to be organized to the T. Okay. And these days I get receipts as well. Because these dealing with these people these days, you gotta have receipts. You say what? Honey. But listen, our God for the believers in the Bible is an organized, is an orderly God. You have to have order. Even in your family structure, man is the head of the women and children, and so forth like that. But also know, women, that God don't put you in the care of any kind of man. That man must love you as he loved himself. That's written before you submit. Before he say submit to your husband, that husband must. I pressed the wrong button. That husband must love you as he loved himself. See, he has to give. He's been ordered to give you the utmost respect, to love you the way he loved himself. And many of them skip over that, like I said, and they'll just go to the Bible verse and be like, God said, submit to your husband. And a lot of women do it because they never read the Bible for themselves. You know, in our scriptures, it tell us people perish. My Jesus Christ said, my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. Okay? You got to read for yourself so you can know if your husband is really being honest about what it says. Oh, that should be it. So, so yes, man. So yes, man is the head of the family. He's the protector, the provider, and the leader. But he must treat that woman with utmost respect. Love her as he loved himself. There's rules to it, ladies. If that man commit adultery, oh, you got the right to walk away. If that man demand that you dismiss your belief, your faith for him, oh, you got the right to lead that. That's written. So you got to know scriptures for yourself. Can't let people tell you what it is. Moving along, I only said that because I wanted to emphasize order. People that's biblically based, there's order to everything we do. It's supposed to be order. The family structure is an order. It's a biblical order they must follow. Okay. So back to what I was saying. When he set them free from the Egyptians, got them to Mount Sinai, the first thing he did was organize his people. They were given instructions to organize. They didn't just organize, but they categorized as well, to the point where you know how many Israelites there were all together, and then it was categorized to knowing all different tribes, how many people was in this tribe, how many men, women, and children was in this tribe, that tribe, and that tribe. And then I think this music's too loud. Let me turn it down. And then it even went as far to stating how many military age men is in each tribe. Okay. So very organized and categorized. There were things that happened, like a group of men, as time went on and they developed their own culture and everything, because God gave them a whole new culture when he delivered them from the Egyptians. He gave them a whole new culture. They couldn't eat that food no more. They were eating God's food. They did everything differently. He gave them commandments to abide by. They couldn't do what the Egyptians did. It was a whole new culture, whole mentality, even new food. And the commandments was commandments to teach nations how to love each other. A lot of people think that the commandments was for all the nations of the world at that time, but no, it was given strictly to the Israelites at that time because they were his chosen nation. And they were the apple of his eye, the chosen nation who was going to be the example to all the rest of the world, how nations are supposed to behave with one another. So that nation had to abide by the commandments to love thy neighbor. That means each other. The Israelites were to love each other, to not covet that neighbor's wife, not to be messing with that neighbor's wife, not to commit murder against your neighbor. That's your fellow Israelite and stuff like that. It was for that nation in particular. Okay. And so as time went on, in the camp where everybody was, and organized and categorized to the core, the Benjaminite men went out and assaulted a woman. Multiple men assaulted her from the Benjaminite tribe. Now, when the husband of that woman reported what happened to the king, I believe the king was Saul at the time. And so they say, oh, what? Okay, no, we're not having that right there. They were able to go they were able to find them with no problems. It was the Benjaminites, straight to the Benjaminite camp. It was these particular men, and they said, bring them out. And the Benjaminite people was like, oh no, we're not going to give you our brothers to knock off. They said, you sure? Because if you don't, you're going to go down with them. And they ended up burning down the whole Benjaminite camp. And about 600 men fled into the mountains and stuff. But the point is, the camp was so organized and categorized that they were able to go straight directly to who it was. There was no confusion about where to find them. Well, I think they probably was Judanites. No. That was Simeonites. It wasn't none of that kind of confusion because everybody knew who everybody was. Well, you from the Judanite tribe, and Now, in it, they had Israelites, of course, during that time they were enslaved and stuff, that had a Judanite had children with a Benjaminite woman. So the children would be in a state of confusion as to, well, what camp do I belong to? And they got instructions from God that you are your father's seed. See, the Hebrew brothers be trying to use this when it comes to other races. But I'm going to break it down for you real quick before I get back to the Pan African. You are the seed of your father. So these are the same people. They're all Israelites. They're one nation, is what I'm saying. I don't know who came up with the word race. It's really supposed to be called nation, and who came up with ethnicity as tribes. But anyway, God gave them instructions and said, you are the seed of your father. So if that child father was a Judanite, they belong to the Judanite tribe. If that child father was a Benjaminite, she would belong or he would belong to the Benjaminite tribe. Now, the Hebrew brothers tried to use this with different races of women. It doesn't work like that. Mm-mm. It works. The seed of your father is strictly when you belong to the same nation of people. For instance, Nigerians, they wasn't structured like this, but they ended up being structured because the white man drew borderlines and clumped them all into one. But it's a many a tribes of people, and some of them tribal people hook up with each other and have kids. And so the children must identify as their father's tribe because that's his seed. Okay? Women and children belong to men. It is what it is. So, anyways, the Hebrew brothers try to use that with other races of women, and it don't go like that. You have to be from the same nation for it to be like that. When it comes to outside races, other nations of people, outside races, let me say nations, those are considered strange people. If you go to the book of Nehemiah and Ezra, you'll read about how they considered other races of people strange people. They did not speak their language. They did not carry their culture. They were pagans. So to the Israelite nation of people, other nations of people were considered strange people and strange children. They're not of the nation of Israelites. It's a mixture. I'm going to say this too before I move on. So at the well, there was a Samaritan. And Samaritans were people that was half Israelite. They were half Israelite. And so the half Israelite woman at the well, she spoke with the Lord and she questioned him about how the Israelites and the Jews didn't get along. And, because back then, during those cultural times, they had been given instructions not to they had been given instructions not to engage with Gentiles. Anybody outside of the Israelite nation was considered Gentiles. So they had been given instructions not to engage with the Gentiles because those people practice paganism and they will taint your sons and daughters if you allow them to intermarry and stuff like that, if you link up with them. They were given instructions not to even say hi. Okay. And so when he was at the well, when the Lord was at the well speaking to this Samaritan woman, half Israelite, she spoke to him about the Jews and the Samaritans not getting along and what was he doing in their area, considering he was a Jew. And they began to talk, and she said, does Jews say that, my people should come to Jerusalem to worship and so forth like that? And as the conversation went on, the Lord had spoke to the woman and told her, he told her the Jews knew what they were talking about because salvation come through them. He was the salvation he spoke of that come through the Jews. Okay. Told her people didn't know what they were talking about, basically. And I'm saying that because there's a difference, a distinct, it's a difference, to distinguish a difference there. Jews versus half Jews. Okay. Now, Miss Chantell is going biblical base. I'm not, pushing anything because a lot of people, they go by their own self ideology. I base it on a biblical ideology. So, considering that conversation, a full Jew versus a half Jew is not the same. Okay. Some people may say there's no such thing as a half Jew or a half person. Well, in fact, it is. If you're sitting up here with two parents and one of them is black and one of them is white, you most certainly not a single race person. You are who you are. Your DNA, your inner beings consist of two different races. It is what it is. And you should not have to go around identifying as a single race person when you're not. You're an admixture of a black person and a white person. Just like you acknowledge that admixture of foundational black Americans in this country, you have to also acknowledge the admixture of a biracial person. The definition of a biracial person is a person that has two parents of two different races. So you have to acknowledge their admixture as well as you acknowledge foundational black Americans admixture. Let's keep it real. You are who you are. And it's pretty hard to find people out here that don't have any admixture these days. Okay? A biracial person shouldn't have to be identified as a single race person when they're not. If I had to, if one of my parents was not a foundational black American, let's say if I had a son who was biracial, his dad was white and I'm a foundational black American woman, I would teach my son that you're a biracial person. Even if you grew up culturally black, that's fine, but you're a biracial person. Some biracial people grow up culturally black, some grow up culturally white, some grow up culturally Mexican. Okay? But I like the idea of organizing and categorizing. Because if you show up at my event talking about you're a black woman or a black man, and you show up with your family and you introduce me to your mother first and she's white or Mexican or Asian, I'm going to be like, you're a confused person. Okay? I don't believe in what Umar be pushing when he say, that biracials have to identify as black and to be a part of his organization or whatever, and your white family or your other race family will not be invited to ever come to the organization, even if they want to show support. No, 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 they're not invited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have to walk out. Oh my gosh, that's funny. But anyways, that's why I believe I just explained to you what I think and it's biblical based. Categorizing, organizing and categorizing. Organizing and categorizing. Okay, let's get back to the Pan African Wakanda talk because this gonna get interesting. All right, let me go a little fast. I'm already in 55 minutes and I haven't even touched upon my subject like I really want to. Dang, I'm talking slow. Let's go a little fast. So I was telling you when I first read about delineation from American freedmen establishing a country, Liberia, and welcoming over other descendants of slave DOS communities or DOS nations around the world to come and experience true freedom without racial hostility and hatred, because it's not really racist, it's hatred. That's the true definition of that behavior is racist. It's hateful behavior. Okay. So I was telling you about that. And I made that point because I wanted to express where I first saw delineation, read about delineation in the history. And I'm quite sure it was probably sometime before that. Well, that's the first engagement that I've read about with um, different DOS communities coming in contact with each other. Because when they were here in America, a lot of them pretty much they came in contact with each other, but they pretty much kind of assimilated into foundational Black American culture and identity. Okay, let's get into it. So, um, by the way, my son, he has a Jamaican lady friend, and her mother asked him where he was from, and he says where he from, the state, like us foundational Black Americans answered, the state we from. No, no, where you from? Where your people from? And so I'm like, from this state. And she's like, no, no, you don't know what I'm asking you? You know, Jamaicans do this a lot, especially to the people in the UK that be out there, they have foundational Black Americans be out there. They do that to them a lot. No, no, where you from? You don't know where you're from. You're confused and all this old BS. So anyway, she tried to trim him up on that. And so he was like, he came to me and he was like, yo, what she mean? What she mean by she asking me where we from? Do we have any immigrant in the family? And I said, you tell her no. We can trace our lineage right here in this American soil through indigenous and European and through slaves that was brought to America. Do you understand? Our lineage is an admixture of the three. So he gave me the phone and I explained this to her. I said, no, we don't have any immigrant in our family. And she says, huh? You don't have any immigrant? Ma'am, no. My family can trace their lineage through European and indigenous and slaves that was brought to America. Not that we didn't leave America. We didn't come from somewhere else. Our ancestors came from somewhere else. We were created right here in America. We have nothing to do with any outside people. So I guess if she found it hard to believe that um, there's a people here that's melanated that doesn't have any immigrant lineage. And I'm like, what the F? That's kind of dumb to me. And she's thinking the same about me. What the F? That's kind of dumb to me. No, sweetheart. because they be moving around the world so much, running this way, that way. They think everybody running like them, fleeing all over the place like them, get all confused in the mind. If I go to Jamaica, I'm not going to assume that they must have some people there that have immigrant lineage because their ancestors were brought there and they were born into there. That's where they begin their birth. Many of them are not immigrant. Their ancestors were immigrants. Like, this is not hard to understand. It's confusing me. I'm like, listen, lady, you confusing me. Let me get off the phone. You go do some reading or something somewhere else. It is not that hard for you to believe that there's foundation of Black Americans with no immigrant lineage. Cut it out. So we're gonna get into that. A lot of immigrants with their global mentality, and they most certainly have global mentalities. Okay, when they hit this country, understand you're dealing with a person with a global mentality. They're bringing something from somewhere else to the land they set on. Okay, they have global mentalities. So when they come here, they're already embedded with a culture, with the identity first, with a culture, and with a mindset they rooted in. So when they come here, they're not of your mindset, foundational Black Americans. They know that they're not of your identity or your culture, but they'll play that game for their benefit. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, so um, Pan African, Pan Africans, who they really are. We must know. We know who them Africans are. We didn't got down to the nitty gritty of who they are. They tribal minded and they savage with it too. They take what they want. They are not to be trusted. Every group that started of going to an African nation and trying to build a country, a nation there on a settlement, they had issues with the tribal people, indigenous African people, because it's like that. They're tribal minded people. We got them pat down. I don't even know how they can think they're better than us when I'm gonna keep this nice and respectful. I'll just say when Trump already said what he said, you living in hell. You living in shithole countries and you got the nerves to come to America and try to tell us what we should do. Who do you think you are? You're crazy and your country thinks. I didn't say it. Trump said it. Okay. Enough said. I'm saying what he said. So, anyways, let's keep it moving. We're talking about Pan Africans tonight. Who they really are. Pan Africans are usually, we only had about one or two Pan Africans that was foundational Black Americans. We know W.E.B. Du Bois was one. He participated in Pan Africanism and that ideology. He participated in it for a little bit. Went to Africa and realized that this let me get the hell up out of here. But by then it was like you're gonna stay right there, African. You are African now, huh? You said you was African. You're gonna stay right over there with them Africans. And oh, child, I know he was ready to get up out of there, honey. Mm, mm, mm. So we only had like a couple of Pan Africans a couple of foundational Black Americans that dabbled in Pan Africanism ideology. We didn't have all of our people really on one accord with Pan Africanism. They pushed it and promoted it to foundational Black American people, and we were open to accepting other people, but the structure could not stand. You know what I mean? The structure couldn't stand because the structure of Pan Africanism upon foundational Black Americans could not stand because the Caribbeans, and they are the Pan. Did I tell you who? Did I define who Pan Africans are? I think I didn't. Pan Africans are Caribbeans. I mean, I told you they had only like one or two foundational Black Americans that dibbled and dabbled in Pan Africanism ideology. Outside of those two, Pan Africans are Caribbeans, first, second, and third generation of Caribbean people that cosplay as foundational Black American, calling themselves Black American back then, and tether onto foundational Black America to sway them into a global Black identity, like Africanizing us. Okay? So know who Pan Africans are. They are first, second, third generation of Caribbeans and Africans, because some of them are first, second, third generation Caribbeans and Africans that cosplay foundational Black Americans and tether foundational Black Americans. They tether to us as well. Did y'all see my post, my community post, by the way? I came across a clip of, I think his name is Elba Idris. I think he's a good looking African, by the way. That's a handsome man right there. Ooh, he handsome. He all right now. I like his eyes. He got, some sexy eyes. But anyways, he was doing an interview and he states that his people who he was working with, which is Caucasians, they told him, they was like, where you from, Eldris? I think his name, is it Elba? Oh, it's Idris Elba. And it was like, where you actually from, Idris? Am I saying the name right? Elba Idris or Idris Elba? I think it's Elba Idris. See, I don't be into this celebrity stuff, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna say Edris. Sound like that's the first name. So anyway, they was like, "Where you really from, Edris?" No, that don't sound right. I don't think nobody first name is Edris. Edris Elba. No, I think it's Elba. I'm gonna say Elba because that sounds right. Anyway, they were like, "Where you really from, Elba?" And he was like, I think they say Africa or the UK or something. No, I think they say Africa. And they were like, the white folks, his partners, and his what they call those people that get you jobs and stuff. I forgot what they call them, agents or whatever. They were like, oh no, this is a foundational Black American role that you're going to be playing, and they don't play about when it comes to their Jersey people. They don't want no African playing their Jersey people, depicting their Jersey people on TV. So you're going to have to keep it a secret. It's on my community post, the clip. You're going to have to keep it a secret that you African. And how the hell you know how to speak so good with the American Ebonics? I don't call it that AVVE stuff. Well, like, that's a white person putting that label on our Ebonics. It's Ebonics, and it's always been Ebonics. Do y'all happen to know that they are studying our Ebonics? Because our Ebonics is being used a whole lot in America and in different cultures around the world. They're speaking our colloquial dialect. And so people are studying our colloquial dialect as a linguistic. It's a subject now. They say we have I wish I could have streamed from the computer. I would have shared this with you guys. I'm going to get it fixed up though one day. So they're out there studying the foundational Black American colloquial dialect because it has spread. Y'all know how we say we influence the world. They also picking up our colloquial dialects around the world. I remember I used to hear them white girls say, "Girl, when I worked at the hospital. Right? Girl, it was they wouldn't pronounce it right though. It'd be like it wasn't pronounced like girl. It was it was them trying, especially if they had a black man. Girl, they couldn't quite say it right like we say it. But anyways, our colloquial dialect is being heavily used around the world, and so it's being studied now as a linguistic. It's a subject now in a linguistic academics. I kid you not, look into it. They say our foundational Black Americans have the most used colloquial dialect around the world, and it's interesting because they say it seems like the colloquial dialect keeps growing and growing and growing. I'm quite sure. Listen, we're not trying to be nothing special, but we are, and it just naturally comes. Anyways, back to the topic. Let me stick on topic because I have a good bit of stuff I want to express tonight, and I want you to really understand who Pan Africans are, how they operate in this ideology, where their homeland is, the Wakanda of Pan Africanism. You're going to trip out off of this tonight. Stay with me. I'm going to surprise you tonight with this twist. Child, you're going to be like, what? So let me hurry up and get to it. So, anyways, I define who Pan Africans are. Okay, I'm gonna say it one more time. Pan Africans are first, second, and third generation of immigrants, and some of them that came here as children too, but mainly the first, second, and third generation of immigrants who assimilated into Black American culture, identified as Black American, because we did welcome them to identify as us and be one with us, identified as Black Americans, and they have our culture, and they pretty much can fake like they're one of us. Okay, we can't tell the difference. Okay, and so they cosplay us and tether to us. And when I say tether, you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so let's get into. I explained the definition. Wait a minute, I wrote some things down. I'm gonna go a little faster now. Oh, okay. Let's talk about the emerging of Pan Africanism, where it really began to grow. Okay, and Pan Africanism was it didn't work out quite well in certain countries or regions of the world because black nationalism was kind of happening at the same time. When I say black nationalism, a lot of these places had finally become independent of European control governing, and so they began to have their independence and be able to control and govern their own selves in their own countries, which was considered a form of black nationalism. Okay, or you can call it whatever you want, melanated nationalism, but it was a form of black nationalism. And what happened was that Pan Africans that promoted, I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna be interesting. Pan Africans that promoted global blackness collided with black nationalism. And a lot of those countries was like, we up here trying to build and get our country together since we finally, hold on, since we finally have independence and you gonna come here talking about global black power? What are you talking? We don't even know those people over there. Okay. And so it collided. There was a president in Africa who promoted that Pan Africanism, global black power unity. I believe he was assassinated. Who was his name? Core? Dang, what was that? Something Corey or something like that. Others were overthrown or deported somewhere else, like They got rid of them. It was not the time for Pan Africanism, the global Black power unity thing, because these countries were brand new into fresh into um, they were fresh into being independent, and they wanted to structure their societies. Okay, it wasn't about global Black power and unity, not understanding that they would need allies around the world. Okay, so as time went on, what happened was that those independent Black nations that was practicing Black nationalism, they failed. They began to crumble. Why they began to crumble and why they were failing? Because white supremacy is global. They do practice global white supremacy. I don't think the DOS descendants um, around the world understood that. When I say DOS descendants, descendants of slaves, I don't think the DOS nations around the world understood white supremacy as a global. They practice global white supremacy. And so those nations were tampered with, blocked, and not recognized as they were recognized as independent nations, but they wouldn't allow them into the trade circles and stuff and things like that. They did all kind of little different things to what it failed. With Haiti, they threatened to re-enslave them if they didn't pay them reparations. And so Haiti ended up paying reparations to these people like over a century. It only stopped around 19 something. I might be wrong, but I think 1947. That was the last payment Haiti had to make to the French. If they didn't make those payments, they threatened to re enslave them. So, because Haiti had to give its financial profits over to the French, of course, that drained their economy. It kept them from excelling. And then America eventually went in and was like, yeah, we're going to take this and do this and do this. Okay. So, yeah, they didn't quite know that, like, white supremacy minded people practice their, belief globally. All right. So, moving along, those systems, those Black national practicing countries that was fresh into independence, and we can understand why they was practicing Black nationalism, because they was fresh independence and trying to build their nations up and structure something good for them and their people. That's totally understandable. So that didn't work out. Hold on a second. Yeah. No. Sorry about that. So, anyways, we can understand and respect that independence wanted to focus on building up their nations for the betterment of them and their people. And it didn't work, like I said. And that's when Pan Africanism was able to step in and get a little ground. Okay. So what happened was that um, because of Black nationalism being practiced, Pan Africans was, like I said, it was some of them. One man was assassinated. One of the presidents of Africa who tried to pull it. One was overthrown. They were run out the country, and so these people went to places where they can have a little bit more freedom to practice Pan Africanism. Okay, like for instance, we began to see the emerge of Pan Africanism in the United States, the UK, and in some Caribbean places. Now, Caribbean places was not very welcoming to Pan Africans. They were not. Mainly, Pan Africanism was rooted strongest in United States. And let me tell you why it didn't quite work out in the UK so much. It definitely didn't work out in the Caribbean. It just didn't work well there. One second. Yeah, it didn't work well there because in the Caribbean, because these people already had political structures that they were influenced by. We're going to get into this. Marxism. Yep. Yep. So Pan Africanism did not work very well, considering a lot of them was influenced by Karl Marx, who promoted Marxism politically. Now, not all the Caribbean followed that political ideology. Some of them did, and some of them didn't. But I'm gonna break it down to why it didn't quite work out. Should I? Okay, I'm gonna just go into this. Why it didn't work out quite much in the Caribbean. The Caribbean, it's a region, right? Let's be clear about what the Caribbean is. It's a region, and the Caribbean is made up of many islands, and some of the islands is considered independent countries, nations. Okay. And some of the islands are considered territories. For example, Puerto Rico is a territory of America. U.S. Virgin Islands is a territory of America. I believe Jamaica is British territory. I think they're British. So some of the islands are independent nations, countries, and some of them are territories of other countries that govern those islands. Okay. And so, and by the way, places like Puerto Rico that's governed by other that's governed that's territory islands like Puerto Rico is the territory of America. They're heavily those type of islands that's territorial. They're heavily governed by other countries. Everything they do, they have no political power whatsoever in their countries. The government of the other countries that's hold on. The government of other countries that um, rule over them, I mean, they really rule over them. Like the Puerto Ricans have no say in what goes on in Puerto Rico. They don't even, they can't have their own president or anything. Everything is like, I don't like it. But anyways, you understand now the Caribbean is a region. So it's good for us to understand it so we can know why it didn't work out. Pan Africanism didn't work out in the Caribbean. Again, the Caribbean is a region with many islands. Some of those islands have become independent nations and countries, and some of those are territorial They territories of other countries, like Puerto Rico being territory of the U.S. and U.S. Virgin Islands being the territories of America, Jamaica being territory of the British. Okay, so we got that clear understanding, right? So, with that being said, Caribbeans, many of them come from independent countries, sovereign nations that they are rooted in, and they have an identity from that nation and a culture. So when these people travel abroad, when Caribbeans travel abroad, we're talking about Caribbeans tonight because that's who Pan Africans are, majority of them. When they travel abroad, they're already rooted because they come from a nation, a sovereign nation, an independent sovereign nation that they are rooted in, have identity from, and culture from. And they don't leave their culture when they get to traveling abroad and moving about all around the world. They don't leave their culture. That is how they identify outside of their country. They identify by their ethnic group and their nationality outside of their country. They're going to say, I'm from Jamaica. Okay, I don't know if Jamaica got different ethnic groups or whatever. I'm not quite sure, but well, they got other races now there. So they're going to say, I'm from Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. They have an identity and they have a Jamaican culture where they come from. So when they go other places, they carry their culture, their identity and culture with them. So when they come to America, for example, when they come to America, they will identify as Jamaican. And you should know they have a culture that comes with their identity. And as foundational Black Americans, we have been open arms to everybody to come and assimilate because in this country is built on racism, is a racist society, is built on racism, and you would not survive very well on your own. So come and join us, assimilate with us, and build with us. And so foundational Black Americans allow these people to identify as Black Americans. I know we talk about Pan Africans, but hold on, I'm gonna bring it back to that in a second. Foundational Black Americans allow them to identify as the same as them, Black Americans. Just say you Black, that flat Black crap, okay? Because we thought it was building. Let me explain to you what happened. When Jamaicans come to, let's talk about America in particular. I'm gonna get back to the UK and all that with the Pan Africanism. But when Jamaicans or Haitians or whatever they call themselves from a different country, they come to America. I told you they already come with an identity and a culture. So when they identify as a Black American, because they've been told, slide in with us, come as one, build with us. That's a form of tethering. It is tethered on to Black Americans. They didn't get rid of their identity or their culture. They still Jamaican at heart. Their identity is Jamaican and their culture is Jamaican at heart. They did not get rid of their identity and culture. They're playing the game of survival. So they say, oh, I'm just Black. I'm a Black American. I live in America and I'm Black. Like the other Black people that live in America and Black. Here's the difference. In this country, there's many different ethnic groups and races in this country. Even before immigrants of even before a lot of other immigrants started migrating here, there was the indigenous people here first. The Europeans came and then they went and got Africans. Those were the three major groups dwelling dwelling on American soil. And those three different groups, you're best to know all of them got some of each other in them because everybody was, doing the get down. Europeans had come and whitewashed many tribal people. I'm sorry, not tribal, but many indigenous people. They had come and whitewashed them. Then you had the Africans they began to bring in, and they pretty much whitewashed them too. They were birthing their children too. So the indigenous women were birthing these half breed children as well as the African women. Okay. Then you had many of the biracials. They began to use the word mulatto was first used to describe native children that had one black parent. Okay. Then they began to use it on African half black children as well. And so a lot of times we forget that they did the same thing they did to Africans, they did it to the indigenous populations first. And so a lot of those mixies, I say mixie when a person has one parent that's of a different race than the other. A lot of those mixies, some of them could identify past as white people. Y'all remember the movie Sinners and the lady in the movie, she was in love with Michael B. Jordan character, but they sent her off to because she was able to marry a white guy who she was able to pass as a white woman. They had a whole lot of them passing as white people. And if you could pass as a white person back then, why wouldn't you? You must be crazy not to. Okay. It was harsh for black people. And so a lot of those people identified as white. And when they do their family trees, sure enough, they got plenty blacks in their families, these white people, whether they want to admit it or not. They got plenty indigenous in their families, whether they want to admit it or not. And so, um, they also had white women engaging with slave men, indigenous and African. And they just go off somewhere and have that baby and toss it to the slaves. But they make sure that biracial right there get treated right because that was theirs. Okay. Oh, I got a comment in the chat. I don't hate Haitians, Jamaicans, Africans, or Latinos. I just don't like those that try to undermine FBA business. I'm with you on that. I did a stream saying that we do not promote hatred. I've never heard one foundational black, and I've heard some of them get crazy, cussing each other out and stuff like that, but I've never ever heard a foundational black American panel of people engaging with Africans and stuff like that, or even talking about them, say that they hate them. I've never once heard that. I've never heard that. But delineation makes them feel that way. When we talking about delineating from them and pinpointing why we delineating, pinpointing their behavior, pinpointing their behavior and their engagement with us in this country, on this soil, how you have been behaving to us. Oh, we're not blind, deaf, dumb, and stupid. We just been sitting back going, what the? And finally, it has kicked in that we like, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. That's enough. Y'all up here running them up here cosplaying us and coming. You trying to stop our reparations? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? What's the matter with you? You trying to hijack us? The Caribbeans trying to stop it right here in America. The Africans try to hijack it. You're not a friend. You move like an enemy. So all this has come to a halt. But let me get back on this topic. So when Caribbeans come here, even the ones that first, second, and third generation too, they still acknowledge their identity, their parents' origins and identity and culture. They still hold tight to that too because they've been raised by their parents, who teach them about the origins of their country. When they come here, they identify before they even start identify as black. They identify as their ethnic group and nationality over race. So what I'm saying is that they don't have the same mind frame as us. They go, "Oh, I'm Jamaican." One second. They go, "Oh, I'm Jamaican," because they're not about race. They identify as their ethnic group or nationality over race. So they go, "I'm Jamaican," or "I'm Haitian," or "I'm Nigerian." The other ones used to say, "Oh, I'm Jamaican American," or Haitian American, or Nigerian American. But eventually, as time went on, especially during this Trump administration, especially during Harlem Renaissance and all of our happenings where they wanted to join in, when they wanted to be accepted by us, they would say, "I'm black in America. I'm a black American." All right? To be accepted by us. And we accepted that because we thought that they were allies when it wasn't. They were actually moving as our enemies. Okay? And so we already know this. I'm just hurrying up and going over it so we can have the whole picture of that Wakanda homeland when I get to it. And so, um, anytime you have a black immigrant, whether they be first, second, third generation immigrant, or even an immigrant that was bought here as a young person or whatever, and they come to this country and they identify as a black American, they are participating in tethering and cosplaying. So 99.9% of these people, Caribbeans, Africans, cosplay and tether. 99.9% of them. They're going to identify as Black American, knowing very well that they're not a Black American. They only use it to benefit themselves. When they want to take part in something or get something, and let me explain to you, they've been taught very well by their parents that when you achieve something, you have to give thanks to your ancestors. Yeah, they've been taught. Wait, hold on. Stop. So yeah, they've been taught that when you achieve something, They teach their kids this too. When you achieve something, you always give thanks to your ancestors who paved the way for you. They're not talking about foundational Black Americans, by the way. They're talking about their parents' origins, where they come from. That's the ancestors that they acknowledge. Like Nicki Minaj, she acknowledged her ancestors over there. And a whole bunch of other ones, they're going to acknowledge their ancestors being, you know, I tell you, these people only come and play in our faces. They only identify with us when they want something, when they're trying to get something or whatever like that. When they achieve something, that's when you know who they truly are. That's when you know who they truly are. They're going to give thanks to their ancestors. Okay. I hope I didn't confuse you because I was telling you that we welcomed them to identify as Black American, but it was sadly mistaken that they were allies with us. We didn't quite understand that they was moving as an enemy. Global minded. But foundational Black Americans, our eyes is set on what took place on this soil. When they come over here, their eyes are set on, a lot of them have a global Black mindset. Okay, which means they got culture from somewhere else and a political agenda that was already embedded in them from somewhere else. Like I was telling you about Marxism. In the Caribbean islands, not all of them. Some of those Caribbean nations, they practice Marxism. Marxism promoted feminism as well. So when they come to places like America and stuff, they come with their political agendas already at hand, sweetie. This was embedded in them and their people. They have a different mindset when it comes to resistance and when it comes to dealing with to being anti-colonial. They have a different mindset how to deal with that stuff. They're not brand new to political ideology. They have a different mindset. And usually I heard Candace Owens say this not too long ago. She said, Africans and Caribbeans, my people are smarter than foundational Black Americans because she waved her hand across her face like they're with all that slave narrative stuff. Nobody's talking about that anymore. And she says, because Caribbeans and Africans, we don't use that slave narrative stuff. So, see, what I'm saying is that they already have political agendas where they're from. They're global minded. They're not American minded. They're global minded. They come here with other political agendas already embedded in them. Africans, as we know, they already very political over there. They come with their own political ideologies where they against each other. Caribbeans over there, they got they allow the women to practice feminism, challenging male leadership. But a lot of times the men, they knock them out, not physically, I'm saying they shut them down. So when they came to America, places like America, they had more freedom to organize. And America also allowed them to practice their feminism more openly. Because white America, white tea women was also practicing a form of feminism. Okay, hold on. Let me get my battery right quick. So, as I was saying, as I was saying, they were able to come here and practice feminism more openly. They were allowed to challenge male leadership, um, with protections, of course, because over here they wouldn't let the men just chop them down like they would in their countries. You know what I mean? So they were able to come here and practice this stuff more openly. But I want you to remember this before I go deep into that. I'm gonna get back on this Pan African Wakanda stuff first. I'm trying to stay on course and go all the way through it in an organized way, but I keep on dipping off into side notes. But concerning foundational Black American women, our women were very much devout Christians, you can say. The church was our everything. It was the place we structured everything around in America. So our women was devout Christians and they did not believe in challenging male leadership. Okay, like 99.9% of our community was church going people, reverends and, devout Christian women and so forth. They were not about to go and support feminism, challenging male leadership. So we were never with it, even though white tea feminists, they tried to use sisters like Sojourner Truth and what's the other, Harriet Tubman, as they try to depict them as feminists when it wasn't. They were about freedom. They were about resistance. They were about family. They were about community. What the heck? But these white women spent that to make it seem as though they had support from foundational Black American women. When in fact, our women is documented clearly saying they were against feminism, especially white tea feminism, because they felt that those women didn't care anything about how Black people were being treated. Our people's political agenda was not about, we didn't have, our people never practiced any gender based politics. They were about community. They had they practiced, they promoted anti lynching, anti Jim Crow laws, anti racism. They were about that type of stuff. And they were not global minded because we are here in America. If we had traveled to the Caribbean or Africa or whatever, we would be considered global minded because then we're leaving our nation with our ideologies, political ideologies as well, that's embedded in us about white supremacist minded people. We know about them very well. We would be embedded with that in our heads on who and how to deal with that and all of that. And we would take that elsewhere with us, right? We would take that elsewhere with us, which makes us global minded because we don't go and absorb the people's where we settling, we don't absorb their culture or their political ideologies or anything like that. We come in with our own identity, our own culture, and our own political agenda. You see the collide. Differences are to be respected, even in relationships. If you feel this person is not on some whatever, it's respected and you move along and get some out of that. Differences are to be respected, not hated. Foundational Black Americans have realized that these people are working against our agenda in this country. And so we decided to delineate. That does not equal hatred. Differences are to be respected. They had, I know I'm off my Pan African talk. I'm gonna get back on it real quick. But they had women from the Caribbean nations. Jamaica was one that heavily practiced Marxism, feminism. Their women practiced it heavily. They practiced gender-based politics over there, challenging male authority, and they brought it here. Other countries in the Caribbean as well, their women too, Grenada, whatever they call it, all those different countries, Guyana, all of them, not all of them, but many of them practice Marxism. Marxism is an ideology it teaches how to tear down. I'm gonna put it in my own words. How to tear down um, classism, um, economic disproportions, I guess you could say. Um, it's. I want you guys to look it up for yourself, so you can have an understanding of it, and you interpret it how you interpret it. But they practice Marxism. They also practice women becoming a part of the labor force out there in the Caribbean nations that they practice or still do practice Marxism. They believe in the women being a part of the labor force. So women had it a little bit extra hard because they had to be mothers and they had to work. They practice gender-based politics, rights for women, and stuff like that. And so, anyway, those women came here and they tried it with Foundation of Black American Women. And what's her name being one of them? Shirley Chisholm. But of course, I told you that on one of the streams how that didn't work, and she was left standing alone in that political arena all by herself because she could not go into the support of Foundation of Black American Women. They were devout Christians. They were not about to challenge male leadership. They were not about to practice gender based politics. They were about family. They were about community, anti racism, anti lynching, anti Jim Crow, fair wages and stuff like that. They were about their community, and they were happy to let the men lead. Okay, so again, Foundational Black American Women. You can look up a whole list of Caribbean women that came to America and tried to promote Marxist femininity. I mean, feminist or feminine. What they call it? Feminism among foundational Black American women, which was kindly rejected. As time went on, okay, let me tell you something. The first wave of YT feminists, the women, they were not trying to do leadership over their men. They were just trying to get some protections and policies passed to allow them to work because the very first wave of YT women feminism was about women who could not work, women who could not have children. When women could not have children, they had a lot of them that couldn't have children. They were left at home with nothing to do because they could not work. Women were not able to work back in those days. So they were left at home with nothing to do. So they got some of the men to support them in letting them work somewhere and become productive in society. And they began to open up a little bit way for them to work as clerical workers, something real simple. Because those women couldn't have children. That's how it all started. The white tea feminist wave, the first one. And then as the second wave came in, they began to want to vote and be a part of the voting system and a political system. And then by the third wave of white tea feminist women, I say that's up to now, the early 1900s up to now, they wanted to be able to run for political positions, high offices like president and things like that, congressmen and women, and they wanted to be able to lead. So eventually it did get to that point where they challenged, at first they wasn't challenging male leadership, but eventually it did get to that point. In the foundation of Black American community of women, we never accepted feminism, period. Anytime the word feminism came up, it was associated with white women who also practiced racism. So, foundational Black American women were not about to support an ideology of gender based politics that was also racist. Mm-mm. It wasn't about to do that. Now, sure enough, during the civil rights movement and stuff like that, you had white women and other different nations of people that was here that tethered on to the civil rights movement to get recognition of what they wanted and what they was fighting for and demanding. Okay. And so they got what they wanted. Of course, they was like, all right, we finished with your ends. Okay. Same with the Latino civil rights movement and the Asian civil rights movement. They got what they wanted. It was like, okay, F off now. Okay, so anyways, foundational Black American women, anytime they heard the word feminism, they dismissed it and stumped it out. Eventually, there was two foundational Black American women, and one of them being a Caribbean woman. I think she was from Grenada, or Grenada, however you say it. And she was heavily into Marxism, feminist movement. She practiced that political ideology. And she brought it to those sisters, those two foundational Black American women. And they took it to the community and tried to root it so that it can grow there. But of course, when those women heard about that, those foundational Black, this was in the 1940s or something, probably, or the 60s. When those when those foundational Black American women heard about that, it was like, "Excuse me, what? Did you say feminism? I mean, feminist? Oh no, you're gonna get out of here with that, sweetheart. You're gonna take that right out of this neighborhood and community. Get on out of here." Then they changed it up. They was like, "No, no, 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 no. We're not about gender-based politics. We just want to give you opportunity to work and build yourself up. And we want to work for child care policies so you can have child care so you can get a job." And, they spunked it. They spin it into something completely different because the word feminist was not acceptable among foundational Black American men and women in our communities. That Grenada woman heavily influenced those sisters. But the other women, the sisters heard that and they were like, "Girl, get out of here with that. Take yourselves on down the street listening to this crazy woman." Now, I read some histories about like Claudia Jordan. Oh, child, they deported her. She was a Marxist feminist in America. She was radical with it. She was wild with it. And it got to the point where it was like, just get up out of here. Okay. They try to send her back home. They said, no, we don't want her back here. And so they sent her to the UK, and she went over there and radicalized them. And she is known as the woman that put together the first carnival tradition in the UK. Or was it Britain? I think it was the UK. But she's the one that established that tradition in the UK, the carnival happenings. Okay. And so, again, I just wanted to say all that. That was my part two of foundational Black American women never practice feminism. Never practice feminism. We always respected our males being the leaders in our communities. Matter of fact, I'd be like, we probably need to take over. Sometimes I'd be thinking like that. Like, listen, we've been waiting on our men to do some things a while now. But it's okay. It's okay because you know what had to happen first? Everything is falling in place. We had to recognize who was really against us among us. They had people that's in our midst that was working against us. So anything we would have done, it would have failed because we had enemies that looked like us, that carried our culture and was able to fake the funk like they was one of us. So actually, we're not off course at all. We're actually on course. Before we can do anything, even get reparations, we have got to set a base to delineate from these others that's clearly working against our agenda in America. Now, I want to address this too real quick before I get back on this Pan Africa Wakanda thing because this gonna be interesting. Listen, and let me hurry up. I'm at 2 hours. This is nonsense. Let me hurry up. But listen, what was I about to say? I was talking about us recognizing those among us that was against us. Before we can even get reparations, we have to establish a base. Oh, of our own. And I was about to say that many of these immigrants, they don't really know our history. They don't know our mindset. They really don't. They try to, but they don't. They like white folks, right? They'll be up on us, but they really don't understand us completely. But some of them believe that, one second. Some of them believe that without Tariq Nasheed, delineation is a no-no. Really? Some of them believe that Tariq Nasheed leads us. Really? When a guy, all I hear him say is he's not a leader. And delineation, a foundational Black American um, delineation is not a movement. It's strictly an identity, a lineage. That's it. I've heard him say this more than enough times that foundational Black American delineation is strictly a lineage base, nothing else. Now, I've heard some other people, immigrants, thinking, oh, he's your leader, he's this. I don't know if they're trying to get foundational Black Americans to reject him and toss him. But let me tell you how we work, sir, ma'ams. Because clearly you don't know us, even though a lot of you been here a very long time. You clearly still don't know how we operate. Let me give you an example of myself first. I believe in the Bible. I do like to go to church and worship with others and congregate with other believers, right? And so I go to church and I congregate with other believers and worship and stuff, and get to know them and stuff like that as brothers and sisters in faith. So when I go to those churches, I've already read the Bible. Read, and I know y'all like, what does read mean? It's my New Orleans colloquial dialect coming out. Sorry about that. Let me slow it down. I've already read the Bible myself. Some people have not read the Bible themselves. They go based off of what the preachers say is in the Bible. So you got two different kinds of people at the church. You got ignorant people, and they're not ignorant dumb. They just ignorant as in they don't know the book for itself, for themselves. They don't know the actual teachings in the book because they haven't taken the time to actually read it from front to back to know what's in it. So if the preachers say something that's actually not in the Bible, they wouldn't know. But today you got Google and all that kind of stuff. You can always go look it up. Versus another set of people that's at the church who have read the Bible themselves and they know exactly what it's saying. If the preacher says something that's not in accordance to the biblical book, those people gonna be like, "Oh, what?" Okay, and you know what happened? The ones who know what it says for themselves, they're gonna exit en masse. The ones who don't know what it says for themselves, they're gonna remain and continue to support. That's in every movement, every political group, every thing. You have two groups of people there. Ones that actually know in depth what's going on, and ones that is sort of ignorant to what's going on. They don't know in detail, in depth. They just there to support because they may like this person or something like that. All right. So when I go to a church, I'm not following the pastor. What? No. I'm there to congregate as another believer and congregate with him, whatever. But the minute you say something that's not in accordance to what is written in the book, I know it's not the place for me. Let me give you an example. There was a preacher. He had 40,000 members, a mega church in America. He had like 40,000 members, a mega church. And one second. Yeah, he had a mega church. And that mega church, like I said, was 40,000 members. And one day he decided he was going to be in support of the LGBT community. And he began to preach about it and state his ideology about it, his belief about it. Okay? One second. He began to state his belief about it. And he lost like 10,000 and then another 10,000 members. The first 10,000 walked out while he was giving the speech to be welcoming to the LGBT community and respect that their relationships and all kind of stuff like that. He lost a lot of his members. So I say that because anytime somebody who's seen as a leader in the community or somebody that's a grassroots organizer and they got support from the community, remember, they have two different groups of people that support them. They have an ignorant amount and a very knowledgeable amount. Ignorant doesn't mean stupid or dumb. It just means they're not aware of a lot of. Shoot, I remember I used to support Umar. I didn't know, I didn't support him financially, but I thought it was great what he was trying to do or whatever. I didn't know his history until Lyndon Honor was exposing a man left and right, which I'm not with. Another brother online making thousands upon thousands of dollars to totally, you know, just absorb him of any kind of respect. He just dragging him all through the YouTube streets. I'm like, oh my goodness, now you that's not classy. That's destroying another brother's image to make money. Because he already exposed, he get paid a lot to do that. And you two will pay you a lot of money to destroy each other. Hello. I mean, I was in support. It's good to know the information because I didn't know about Umar until I started listening to Lennon. Okay. And I'm like, no way. What? When I heard him disrespect his daughter and stuff, I'm like, oh no. What? Oh my gosh. This isn't looking good. So when I found out he had been doing the church thing, I mean not church, the school thing for like 20 years, and he always put another date that is gonna open, another date that is gonna, you know. And so I'm like, oh my. So he exposes him heavily, and he makes a lot of money, exposing brother. But listen, um, I used to support Umar, not financially, but on a supportive level, like I hope you get it done. And I didn't know Umar was like Pan African to the point where he was promoting, because I dip in and out of conversations. I don't even know what Tariq Nasheed is really about. I hear him every now and then say some stuff, and that's it. I don't listen deeply, like follow deeply, like everything he say to actually know for sure, who he is or whatever. But what he's speaking about, I can support it because we know this is to be true, right? But let me finish what I was saying about Umar. So anyway, I didn't know Umar was against. I was ignorant to his cause. You see, I didn't know fully what he was about. But I supported the good things I heard about him that I knew of him. I supported them. But when I heard that he don't support reparations and that he a Pan African that believe in all of us Africanizing ourselves, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, you own one. And I immediately withdrew from supporting him because I came to understand what this man was really about. Okay. All right. Now let's move along to that Tariq Nasheed character. I don't really know what he's about either. But when I hear him speaking about delineation, foundational Black American delineation, I'm in support of Yvette too, Yvette, the ADOS movement. I'm in support of that too. I'm in support of all things that's about the betterment of foundational Black American people in this country. Period. If I hear that person that has started a grassroots organization or something among our people to better our people, like delineation and foundational Black American delineation, a lineage based identity, that's a wonderful thing. If I hear anybody talking crazy, if not just me, many of us who support the idea of delineation, which is giving us an identity strictly for our people in this country, making it understood we're not immigrants and we're not grouped in with that BIPOC stuff. We support that. Many of us support that. Many foundational Black Americans support that. But the minute we hear something that's in opposition and it doesn't quite fit into the agenda to get us our own base or lineage base or whatever, I guarantee you he'll lose supporters in no time. Guarantee. Okay? That means Tariq is not our leader. It means Tariq is taking part in our community, foundational Black American community, which he's one of us, to better our community. Do you understand? We let our people lead whatever they come up with. Why not support him? He's saying what's needed to be said. He's saying the correct things. But the minute, I guarantee you, the minute he says something fishy or he moving fishy, the foundational Black America is gonna be like, what? Come on, let's get out of here. Then they're gonna drag him through social media, letting everybody know what he's really about. You see Michelle and Barack Obama, right? Child, listen, Barack gets no respect like that no more. He get it from them immigrants that he was about, them Caribbeans and Africans and stuff. He's about he's about immigrants and them gay blacks and stuff. He gets support from them because that's what he's about. But he lacks respect. Matter of fact, he lacked respect for our men anyways. Telling them they need going to the church, talking about some y'all need to grow up and act like men. Excuse me, who are you? Yeah, these women need help. Wasn't your mother single? A single? You were raised by your granddaddy. Go to Africa and sell it to them. No disrespect, of course. He listen. He promoted that. Oh, I'm here. This is my community. But he had not. Do you think he go in Chicago community and child, that man would never go there. You can't pay him all the money in the world to go there. He used them for his, you know, for his well being, his success, and he done with them. That's what a lot of people do to foundational Black Americans, and that's why we're delineating. For some reason, he still thinks he's respected among us when he's really not. We know that you used the people, you used our people, and you don't care about them, clearly, because you abandoned a community that you claim you love so much. His wife is now playing the victim. Oh, I was so mistreated in the White House. I couldn't wear hair braids. And I really like hair braids because I'm a Black woman. Girl, stop. Stop it. And I was so down, and girl, you was enjoying yourself in there. Stop that. You were hiding because the people were like, where's Michelle? Why is she not helping her husband to do something for the community in Chicago or wherever? She was hiding. Oh, I'm helping the children lose weight. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm dealing with a lot of depression because those people are saying that I'm a monkey and I'm a guerrilla warfare monkey or something. Lady, that lady was in there. Child, did y'all not see her hair grow within 3 months? That lady hair was touching her backbone. When she first got in there, it was on her shoulder. It was touching her backbone. It was beautiful. Her skin and everything. I mean, just go look at the pictures of her. I mean, her skin and everything cleared up. I mean, she was fit, lean, and trim, girl. She was looking good when she got up in there. Because, they have access to top-notch everything. She was living it up. Her and her family. Going on vacations and stuff. Just having a ball. But now that it's all over, she wants to play like she was a victim hiding out in a room and she was, she didn't know how to deal with the girl. Somebody caught her on vacation with her white friends in Italy somewhere, girl. She was in the mountains diving off of the boat, having a grand day time. Somebody, I don't think she knows she was being filmed because she want to go around promoting the book, talking about she was depressed and stuff. Girl, that didn't look like a depressed person, sis. Come on. You were having fun. And now you're embarrassed because you know that we didn't come out to vote for Barack Obama. We came out to vote for you and the girl and your mother to get in that White House. And we actually thought you were going to do something. You seem to be a very brave woman, but we were fooled. So And let me say this right quick before I get back to this. Hold on. Child, Barack was so slick with it. Before he became president, he had himself what they call that when you have sweep. You can get yourself sweep from the social media, the internet. They can do a sweeping of everything about you on social media and the internet. Oh yeah, he had his self sweep. Barack had connections. He was a radicalized person. He had connections to different people globally. I bet y'all don't know that. Oh yeah, that man was connected to different people on a global scale. That's those global minded people. They don't think like us. So Barack, when he ran for president, he was like, okay, before he ran for president, he was friends with Reverend Wright, who was basically besties with Farrakhan. Now we never seen him in any pictures or anything with Farrakhan because this man knew he was going to be running for president one day, and he kept his distance. But did you guys know that he used to go to Farrakhan's house, who lived right around the corner from him, and have cookies and tea, and they talked politics? They used to politic at Farrakhan's house. Lived it right around the corner from him, somewhere in Illinois. And you know what? When he became president, he became president. There was no pictures or anything about him and Farrakhan having any kind of connection. Sweet, clean. But Hillary wasn't no dumb lady. Hillary was like, mm-hmm. Baby, I got connections all over this place. And trust me, you was friends with Farrakhan, but she just couldn't prove it because everything was swept clean before he even came out that he was going to run for president. They couldn't find no evidence to the point they had to hire a young boy, a college student or a high school student, college, I believe, to follow him all around with a camera, trying to catch him acting up or doing something wrong. Come to find out, come to find out, there was one picture that this photographer held. And I know he got paid millions upon millions for that picture. That photographer they was at an event way before Barack became president, of course, way before he was senator. They were at an event. And the photographer took a picture of Farrakhan and Barack together. And Barack looked so happy. Farrakhan did too. Looked like they were besties, and they were. We found out. We found out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought you said you didn't rock with him. Honey, everything was swept except that one picture. You better know that man got paid millions upon millions to keep that a secret. Because if that man wouldn't have kept that a secret, Barack Obama wouldn't have won presidency. Because they would have like labeled him anti-Semitic or whatever. Do you know he had the Jewish support, by the way? Barack. Oh yeah, they supported him heavily, baby. Yeah, they did. If they would have known he was besties like that with Farrakhan, ah, that politicking stuff is woo, that's some wild stuff. I don't mess with that. I'd be like, I don't know how people mess with that. Mm-mm, mm-mm. They ruthless in that game. So this man who had that picture, he took two snapshots. He said the first one he felt it wasn't so great, so he asked them to pose one more time, and they did. So he had two snapshots of them, and they looked really, really close, like they actually had a love for each other, a liking for each other, which we found out they did. So the man kept the photos secret until Barack did his last term in presidency. And after he finished, The man was able to come out on a documentary. I forgot what it's called. Y'all can look it up on YouTube. The only picture with Farrakhan and Barack Obama. You might find it under there or something. That man was able to come out and explain his side about that picture when he took it and all that kind of stuff. No, when Barack won president, you had better know. For Farrakhan to not say anything, that Farrakhan was actually acting like him and Barack didn't get along. It was a whole game, okay? So, so he kept quiet. You know, Farrakhan got his cut. Now, you know Farrakhan got his cut, baby. You must be crazy if you think that man didn't get paid way more than I don't know who got paid the most, the photographer? Probably Farrakhan. So anyways, because, I mean, like, to have a picture with Farrakhan was a no-no, sweetheart. Okay? So he wouldn't have had no Jew support. He wouldn't have had, ooh, child, they wouldn't even let him get on that stage talking about he running. Okay? But listen, we found out after all of this, his term was completely done, that he was actually friends with Farrakhan and used to go by his house way before he got into the Senate and all that. He used to go by Farrakhan's house to have cookies and tea and talk politics. Yeah. And so, you know, Farrakhan's had wait, hold on. Farrakhan had connections overseas and all that kind of stuff. Like it was global stuff. It wasn't just American stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So, um, I say, man, they got paid. Buku millions. You better know that. That photographer living large, baby. Okay, 8 years straight. You know they paid him to keep that quiet 8 years straight. Sure, I would have been like, excuse me, what am I getting out of this? And don't try no BS because my family, everybody, I got family all around the world. Don't try nothing crazy. I'ma stay cool long as you stay cool, but you gonna pay me good. Cause this is a big one. But I got you. I'ma stay cool with you. You know, I'm down. I know I ain't talking about no 10 million, 20 million, but Rock, you know how much he's worth. Come on now. Baby. I ain't talking about no 10, 20, 30. More like 40, 50 million. Okay, that's changed to Barack and his family. That's changed to them. I think Michelle got her own network as well, where she herself got a lot of money. So anyway, I don't like to talk about people's money and stuff like that. Let me get off of that. But I'm just saying, I know they got paid a lot. I would have been like, we talking 40 to 50 million. Let me see, 30 million for 8 years to keep quiet. That's not. I don't think 30 million is enough for that. Let me see. Wait a minute. I mean, you telling me I can expose the whole presidential thing, and you want to just give me 30 million? It's not a lot, to be honest with you. The way those rich and famous people live, they live very expensive lifestyles. Like 30 million is not a lot for me to keep up with my rich and famous friends. Okay, I wanna be able to do what a lot of them do. So I'm gonna call and request 50 million. At least 40 or 50 million. Okay. But anyways, the whole purpose of that was to say politics is not a joke. Okay? Not a joke. So anyways, Barack lost a good bit of support in foundational Black American communities. He doesn't have a large support base among us. Him nor his wife. Nope. Matter of fact, nobody claims him. Nobody's proud to claim, oh, Barack. Nobody's on that. And so that's the same thing that would happen to any person in leadership in our community that do a turncoat. You about this, and then all of a sudden you about that. And sometimes people do turncoats because they get caught up. They turncoat. They like Nicki Minaj, for instance, right? She a turncoat. I don't know what she was really about. I can't really speak on her, to be honest, because I don't know what she was really about, but she claimed Black American. And now all of a sudden she's a turncoat. She's over there breaking bread with white supremacist minded people. And people's like, what the hell is she doing? She's a turncoat. And sometimes people become turncoats because they can end up getting deported, which is her situation. Um, they might have something else going on where they was fraudulently doing some things, and so now they're gonna use them, or else they go to jail for the fraudulent activity. And they become turncoats for different reasons. But I think that's what she's doing. She's a turncoat because I don't think turncoat refers strictly to politics. I'm using it as somebody who was identifying as us, dibbling and the dabbling in our culture and all that, tethering, heavily cosplaying, all that, and then all of a sudden you over there breaking bread with white supremacist minded people trying to make us out to be bad people who is harassing white women. What the hell is she talking about? Like, what? Why is she telling us about what? She turncoat. Girl, you tripping. But y'all know she doing what she gotta do to get to you know. Hey, I don't know if I would do that. I can't say. Okay, so I got a comment in the chat. Let me see. The Dollar Billionaire Brand says, Chantell, who are you hating on today? Do you know what? Do you know that while people response to foundational Americans is heritage Americans, what do you think about that? Do you know that while people response to foundational Americans is heritage Americans? I don't know what you're talking about. Because just like my foundational Black American ancestors, when the Caribbeans, you guys, brought that Marxist feminism crap to devoted church women, which foundational Black American women are still to the day. Oh yes, majority of us still that today. You only see them little girls on TV shaking it up because those people paying them babies 40 grand to do that. 40 million, I mean. Okay. But listen, majority of us, we still devoted church Christian women. And just like a lot of your women came here with that Marxism political ideology, that Marxism feminism, and try to promote that among foundational Black American women, and we stumped it out. The sisters stumped it out. Take your crazy tail on up out of here with that, with your crazy selves. Talking about challenging our men. We ain't about that. We we women of God. Stop it. And it's something about anytime the word feminist is brought up in foundational Black American communities, it's always stumped out. And we do the same thing today when you Caribbeans bring the white political ideology to us. Well, this is what the white people said. What do you think about that? I don't think anything about it. We've been dealing with white people a very long time, trying to get them to recognize who they are, the demonicness that they behave as for a very long time. We've always been dealing with them people. And we try to ignore them, to be honest. And you wonder why we don't discuss them, because recently we just realized that we had infiltrators among us that look like us, aka tethers, aka cosplaying us. That's what I think about it. Why are you bringing that white rhetoric to me. You think about it. What you think about it? Then they say, and by the way, we don't push hatred. Hate you for what? Why should we hate you? Hate you for what? We hate you because we delineate. We want our own base. We don't want to be lumped up with immigrants. That means we hate you because we don't want to be known as immigrants and African and Caribbeans. We're not that. How does that equal us hating you? Delineation doesn't mean we hate you because we saying we want our own lineage base and protect and gatekeep our culture and community, all that for our descendants, our children. But look how wicked you are that you would spin it as a form of hatred. But this is how I spin it. When you are when you know that you're not a foundational Black American and you cosplay us and tether us and you move against us, working every way against us, sitting up there in the politics, trying to knock down our reparations, Africans trying to hijack our reparations, I see enemies at play. How about that? What you think about that? What you see at play? If somebody do that. What you see at play? You guys are trying to help us out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So, anyways, I was telling you guys about. Um, I'm trying to get back to my topic. I gotta get back on what kind of topic? I almost forgot. Messing with this crazy person in my chat. Hold on. Let's get to that Wakanda. Pan African homeland is Wakanda. Let's get to that. Where am I? I wrote some stuff down so I can stay on track with this. Oh my goodness, I'm in a 2 hour mark. I gotta get off of here. Come on now. We gotta go a little faster. So I was saying, by the way, before I go into the Pan African Wakanda talk, I'm gonna say this again. 99.9% cosplay foundational Black Americans and tethered to foundational Black Americans. 99.9% of immigrants in this country do that. Excuse me, the Caribbeans and Africans in particular. Why I say it's 99.9% of them, because if you come here and you identify as a Black American, then you most certainly are cosplaying and tethering foundational Black Americans. Because when you come here, or even if you was born here, your origins, and you know this, is not of us. You know that your parents came from somewhere else. If you came here, you know that you're rooted with an identity and a culture from somewhere else, but you will come here and identify as Black American when you know that in America, we foundational Black Americans are the only Black Americans. Let me explain real quick. In America, there's different nations of people here. White people say, oh, I'm American. But there's other Americans here. The other ones say, I'm indigenous American. We say, I'm Black American. If we say, I'm American, and the white people say, I'm American, and the indigenous people say, I'm American, they're going to say, well, if all y'all American, why y'all fight so much? Are y'all tribal? No, we're not tribal, but we're different nations of people with different experiences in this country. Let me tell you about it. The indigenous were here first. The Europeans came and enslaved them and colonized all kind of crazy stuff. And then they went and brought Africans over here as well. So we have to distinguish who we are. I'm a Black American. Our people have been called different things throughout time. Negro, this, that, that. And African American, we rejected that and said, don't call us no African. We're not African. We just Black. People don't know nothing about Africa. Don't have no ties to Africa. Just call us Black. We Black and proud. Okay. So we identified as Black people in America. We are Black. That's the name of our ethnicity. We called it Black. We no longer called it African American. We say black. And then we're American. We are the only black Americans. You're not black Americans. You know that very well. Just because you're born here doesn't make you a black American. I'm not going to use that word retarded again. Just because you're born here doesn't make you black American. You know your parents' origins is of somewhere else. That is what you are. If you're not identifying as your origins and you're identifying as a black American, you are tethering. And 99.9% of you tether onto Black Americans, aka Foundation of Black Americans. You're tethers, 99.9% of you. At one point, I didn't believe in the word tether. I was like, why are you name calling? You should name call them. I don't like the idea of name calling. And then as I continue to see these videos and you people talking and expressing yourselves on these platforms and stuff, I said, oh, these people are truly ignorant and crazy. They have no respect, a lack of respect. Why would you identify as somebody else? If I'm Jamaican, I'm going to say I'm a Jamaican American. That means I was born here. Or I'm going to say I'm Jamaican. That means I came to America. And I started to understand why people use the word tether. Now, a tether gets no respect in Miss Chantell's book. That's why I'm going to ignore your comments. Dollar billionaire brand. Because a tether gets no respect from me. And what I mean by that? I won't entertain somebody who's too afraid to be proud of who they are. Even in the midst of the storm, baby, we were singing black and proud. That's what Foundation of Black Americans was saying. I'm black and I'm proud. Even when they was effing it up, trying to make us look bad, trying to make us look like the enemy, we were standing strong in it. That's what Somalians should do. I'm black. I'm Somalian and proud. Stand strong in it. Wherever you come from, stand strong in it. Stop being afraid to identify by your origins. Just because you're born in America doesn't make you, your ethnic group, a black American. Okay. Let me see what this ignorant person in the chat has to say, because if you can't be honest with yourself, I kind of have a little sympathy for you, because for you that was born here, first and second generations of immigrants, your parents didn't teach you that to be proud of your, well, they did. They told you to only be proud of your to honor your ancestors or the origins of your ancestors only when you make, achieve things. So for instance, if you was to build like a Foundation of Black American did, something Westmore, I forgot his first name. I think it was Eric Westmore. If you was to build a water machine that create or produces fresh water from air vapor, what an amazing invention. You would claim your origins, your parents' origins, and say, I'm a proud, I'm Jamaican, whatever, because you were taught to honor your ancestors and your achievement. That's the only time you would really claim your origins. It's really weird. Anyways. Let me get back on topic, because I'm trying to get to this pan African Wakanda thing. So, anyways, let me tell you how I got there, y'all. This is pretty interesting. Let me see if I missed out on anything right quick, because I wrote this down. Oh, okay. Okay. So I happen to be writing down some stuff I wanted to talk about on the stream, right? And as I'm writing this stuff down, I'm like, about Pan Africans. I'm like, wait a minute, this is sounding like some Wakanda all right? I'm like, wait a minute. This, this the Wakanda movie. I kid you not. I'm like, as I'm writing this stuff, I'm like, this is the Wakanda movie right here. So I go to Chat GPT and I type in, is the Wakanda movie, is Pan Africanism based on the Wakanda movie? And what? I was so surprised, y'all. It said yes. I was like, what? What kind of movie is based on Pan Africanism ideology? I know I wasn't tripping because as I'm writing it down, I'm like, wait a minute, this seems like this what they did in the movie, the Wakanda movie. You know how they wanted to. I always told you Pan African is a cultist. It's cultish. So, anyways, they wanted to. Okay, I wrote it down. I want to keep it in order. So, in the movie, nobody know Wakanda was a secret. Nobody know that it was a real place, right? In the movie, it was a secret. If anybody knew it was real, it was well. I ain't gonna say if anybody knew it was real. Nobody really knew it was real, but they probably had some story about it, but people brushed it off as, just a story, right? So in the movie, Wakanda was actually a secret place. Number two, in the movie, Wakanda sent out agents to do things. Okay. I'm a connect them. Number three, the Wakanda agents worked with white supremacist minded people to get their agendas completed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Didn't Marcus Garvey work with them too? Shirley Chisholm tried to work with white tea feminists too. Mm-hmm. It never worked out, of course, because they don't understand that white supremacy minded people. This is a global type of thing, and they don't quite understand. I don't think they understand how it works. So, anyways, number four, the Wakanda people were about a global Black identity around the world to survive. They were trying to help the global Black people around the world, but it wasn't really helping, right? So, another thing about Wakanda was that they promoted, did they promote all Black people as one? Well, when you speak of Black people globally, I do consider that a form of promoting us as one and the same, which we're not. All right. So as I was writing that, Wakanda movie came to my thought, and I'm like, what the heck? And I had to go ask GPT chat, am I tripping? You think it's chat GPT was like, most certainly, absolutely, you're correct. Okay, so these are all the same things that I just named that Pan Africans do. Number one, Pan Africans try to Africanize everybody. They see us as globally one people globally. They don't respect different ethnicities or cultures or anything. If you're melanated, you're African in their minds. Pan Africans, what else? As I said, they don't respect ethnicities. Like Dr. Umar, he would tell you that no, we African. Forget that foundational Black American mess. We're just Africans all around the world. It's foolery, just pure foolery. So they promote this Pan Africans. They have no respect for ethnicities or cultures. They have no respect for that. They only see you as Black, flat Black. Also, Pan Africans, as I said in the list ahead, I mean before, Pan Africans work with white supremacist minded people to get their agendas completed. And as I said earlier, I listed Marcus Garvey, Shirley Chisholm, And they had some white feminist women who was actually trying to become one with the white tea feminists here, like the women from Grenada or whatever, Grenada, the feminists. They were trying to become one with them, and the white tea women was like, "Nah, go over there and do your white tea, do your little support over there." But yeah, they work with white tea support. They work with any group to get their agendas accomplished, not just white supremacist minded people. They work with any group to get their agendas accomplished. They did the same thing in the Wakanda movie. In the Wakanda movie, they saw all black people globally as one. In the Wakanda movie, um, what did they consider all black people from Africa? I watched the movie one time and I'm remembering what I can, but I don't think they consider all black people Africans, but they most certainly considered all black people globally as one. In the Wakanda movie, they did work with other nations of peoples to get their agendas done, even white supremacist minded people. In a Wakanda movie, they pointed to Africa. They used Africa in a symbolic way to represent a land of people that could live in freedom from racial hostility and hatred. Africa was a symbolic of that utopia that was supposed to exist, where you can live in a land where you're not dealing with racial hostility and hatred. Even though they knew that Africa was filled with nations and thousands upon thousands of tribes that slaughtered each other. That's one of the reasons Marcus Garvey didn't go there. A lot of Pan Africanists, they never lived in Africa. They just promoted Africa as a symbolic type of place, like a Wakanda. Okay. That was their Wakanda. Africa was their Wakanda, but it wasn't quite, you know, a place to use as a symbol, because as a symbolic place, because they were violent towards each other. So in the Wakanda movie, the I'm talking about Pan African in a Wakanda movie, Pan African, not the Pan Africans. In a Wakanda movie, oh, I'm talking about Pan Africans. Like the Wakanda movie, sent out Wakanda agents to get missions completed. Pan Africans sent out their little cult set up. They sent out agents as well to promote Pan Africanism. Yeah. So Pan Africanism is not an individual mindset. You do know that, right? It's not an individual mindset. Pan Africanism is a group, a movement. And they send out other Pan Africanists, Pan Africans, to promote Pan Africanism. Now, Pan Africanism, I told y'all why it didn't quite work out in the Caribbean. In the UK, Pan Africanism almost was rooted pretty heavily there, except it was too many different nations and ethnicities in the UK. You had from the Caribbeans, you had Jamaicans, Haitians, Barbadians, etc. And they were all different ethnicities. And from Africa, you had Nigerians and Ghanaians and Zimbabweans and so forth, and they were all different ethnicities. So it wasn't quite easy to get it rooted in the UK because those people didn't share a common ground. Unlike America, here in America, and the reason why they came here to America to promote Pan Africanism, because in America, one second, because in America, foundational Black Americans were one group that moved as one people in one language. That's why they came here to promote it. That's why many of them come to America to promote it, to jump off and promote feminism and Pan African. They came to America and try to promote it because it was one group of people here. We were one. We were open to people coming and assimilating as us. So it was easier here to promote Pan Africanism. Not all foundational Black Americans agreed with Pan Africanism. We slowly for surely was trying to get these people to understand um, what goes on in this country. And unfortunately, we didn't know and understand they were global minded people. They believe in global blackness. They don't believe in one blackness, American blackness or whatever. They were global mind. They still are. They're global minded people. They believe in blackness around the world as one. So when they came to America to promote all of their political agendas and ideologies and all that, we didn't know that they would in turn end up working against our agenda in America, where our people had been fighting for rights and all of that for a very long time with these hateful people. The collide, even though W.E.B. Du Bois, he wrote in his books about the tensions between foundational Black Americans and Caribbeans and Africans, he still dibbled in Pan Africanism because we knew we were global minded we had the idea of global mindedness at first, but not to the point of doing away with our ethnicity in this country, with our culture, our heritage. We didn't want to do away with that. And they were pushing for us to do away with that and just identify as African. They promoted to Jesse Jackson, hey, we're going to give you some money, get these people to call themselves African American. Okay. We finally, our people stepped up and did away with that. We ain't no damn Africans. What you talking about? You know, because a lot of us recognize our indigenous roots, which a lot of us have, especially in Louisiana and in the South. A lot of us have it. Even those that migrated from the South, a lot of them have indigenous roots. And we know all of us have European lineage as well due to um, slavery. So our people, our men were recognizing truth, and it was like, listen, we're not Africans. We don't have nothing to do with Africa. Why are you bringing that African stuff here? Don't call me no African. I am not an African. I'm American. And so we did away with that and began to identify as Black, period. And now today, of course, we delineate and identifying as foundational Black Americans. Now let's get into, I talked about the Wakanda. I really wanted to touch that point because I was shocked when I had realized, I'm like, wait a minute. This, as I'm writing it down, I'm like, this sounds like some Wakanda stuff. And sure enough, it was. That's crazy. So again, before I wrap this up, I want you to understand foundational Black Americans that Pan Africans or Caribbeans and Africans that's first, second, and third generations in this country, generation immigrants in this country. And some of them come to this country and they cosplay us and tether on to us as though they are one of us, misrepresenting us. And they come from different angles to try to sway us into global blackness. We were okay with that at one point, but not anymore since we know that you're an enemy at hand, trying to knock down reparations in this country for us. How dare you? How can you do so? Why would you? And trying to hijack reparations all the way to Africa. OMG. Now that's not a friend. Okay. So um these people, I want you to remember they come here with their with a ethnicity, a nationality that they're already rooted in from wherever they come from. And a lot of them are already embedded with political ideology and agendas before they come here. So that's why they do not work with you, foundational Black Americans. They work against you because you don't share their political ideology or anything else. They don't identify with the struggles here. They are here on a mission, a Pan African mission to make all of us globally Black people one. Sounds kind of crazy, huh? Can you imagine? Say, for instance, I mean, listen, just look at America. All these different Black, or let's say melanated people here, we have never done anything together. Majority of times, they just assimilate to our culture and identify as us and tether and become, absorbed in our culture, and we promote them and cheer for them and all that kind of stuff like that. But we've never done anything in this country together as a global, while they represent themselves. Like we identify as Black American, you identify as Jamaican, you identify as Nigerian or whatever, and we move together to build something. We've never done that in America. They couldn't do it in the UK because they say it was too diverse, and the Caribbeans wasn't having it because they got territorial islands, and then they got independent countries, islands that's independent nations that was all about Black nationalism. It crumbled, and so they Pan Africanness is not on point because they still trying to pick themselves up. Okay, they only want some global blackness if you're gonna bring some money. So I think I got my. Let me see. Redefining history is one of the things that Pan Africans promoted as well. Redefining history. Isn't that something? So a lot of Caribbeans practice, not all, Marxism politics, Marxism ideology politics. Marxism ideology politics have a branch of feminism where they support feminists, women challenging having leadership over male leadership. I'm not going to go into Marxism and what it's about. I'll let you guys go look that up and you come up with your own, you infer the way you want to interpret that. But a lot of them do practice Marxism. Okay. And y'all know what communism is, right? One of the countries that succeeded at it was Cuba. And Cuba is a communist country. So when you look at the politics of that country, that's basically what Marxism is. Okay. All right. So I talked about how foundational Black American women did not align with politics and all that. I mean, with feminism and all that. They did not engage in gender specific politics. Majority of them was devoted church going Christian women who rejected feminism. I talked about that earlier. And Caribbean women had a different approach, of course. Like I said earlier, they practiced Marxism, feminism. And when they came here, they was radical with it, and they pretty much tried to um, turn foundational Black Americans into these feminist groups of women, which was rejected. All right, so and in Jamaica, at one point there was a social government with a leader by the name of what was his name? I wrote it down. Jamaica was heavily influenced by Marxist ideology. Jamaica. Oh, there his name is. It was during the time of Michael Manley's Democratic Socialist government. They practiced Marxism heavily, and it influenced their intellectuals, their labor organizations, and women activists, and more. So they were heavily influenced by Marxist ideology, political ideology. Okay, not just Jamaica, but other islands as well that was independent nations was there. They were heavily influenced by Marxism as well. And I told you, if you want an idea of what Marxism looked like, Cuba was one of the most successful countries to practice Marxism. They communists, right? And so forth like that. And so I think that I've said everything that I want. I talked about everything I want to talk about. So let me go into my chat box. So this person at Dollar Billionaire Brand, he says or she says, "Why do you insist on calling me a Caribbean when both of my parents were born in the South?" Well, see, when if it walk like a duck and quack like a duck, it's a duck. That's how I see it. Now, let me tell you one thing about Black American foundational Black American women. We have some gay antennas, and they work very well. Okay, and when we hear sass, and when we pick up any kind of, Fruity Loop type of activity going on, again, tennis go up. That's one of the reasons why a lot of brothers go overseas for women, because foundational Black American women, we have some excellent antennas when it alert us when we sense fruity. So a lot of the brothers go overseas to get women to marry because they into freaky deaky stuff. Okay. And we ain't down with that. So you have a lot of them going out looking for women that's in Dominica and Africa and all of those places. Right? So, why did I say that? I say that because, oh, why did I say that? Oh, okay, I remember. I say that because if you're walking like one, talking like one, acting like one, we're gonna consider you one of them. Okay? If you come in a chat and you up here defending, I know you might be foundational Black American, but you defending, um, you offended by delineation because you might have children that's by ethnic, and I don't mean to offend anybody really. You might have children that's by ethnic. Hey, you navigate that how you want. I'm just giving my opinion. but you navigate it how you want. You might be offended that it sounds like we rejecting your children. That's by ethnic. Or you might have some type of you connection or whatever. You might be one of those first, second, or third generation of immigrants that was told you wasn't one of your people back home. So you feel rejected by both. I don't know. But I can tell you this. If you come in a chat and you offended by foundational Black Americans delineating, having their own lineage base, then I count you as not a foundational Black American. Why would you be offended by that? That's it. Walk like a duck, quack like a duck, you're a duck. You're talking and acting, carrying on like somebody that's not a foundational Black American and you offended by things because we want to delineate, then I don't count you as a foundational Black American. It's that simple. Okay. Dollar Billionaire Brand says, I think you are confusing people. The word should not, the word should not be delineate and just differentiate. Oh, like the Caribbeans doing in the UK. They have that distinct culture. What they call it? Distinction culture or something like that. They most certainly delineated from the Africans. They don't want they don't they demanded that those white people understand that they are not Africans. They came first and they let them Africans know y'all not gonna come here and undermine everything we have done in this country and F it up for us. Over there in the UK with that. They call it distinct cultural distinction, where we call ours delineation. What's the difference? Cultural distinction means you are making it very clear that you're not the same people, you don't have the same culture, you don't have the same mindset. What's the difference? Delineation is saying the same thing. We're getting out of that BIPOC, we're all one, we're immigrants too. We're not immigrants and we're not BIPOC. We're people that's been here since the founding of the country and before the founding of this country. It's that simple. It's nothing to be offended by. Then the billionaire brand said, I'm a Pan African and I love Wakanda. I know. I know. Is it real? Do you guys have vibrate? What is it? Vibranium? Listen, I was reading earlier about African resources and minerals, and I'm like, you telling me that everything these people use in this country, Africa have loads of it, so they go there to get it to I mean, without the resources in Africa, they wouldn't be able to do these things. They wouldn't be able to do anything. You have resources, as I heard somebody say, under your feet, and you don't know what to do with them. You let other people take control of your resources that they need. I don't get it, but I'm not judging. Whatever. So there's a resource. There's a what is that? I forgot what it is. Not vibranium, but it's used to make basically everything. Not vibranium, but it starts with an N. Uranium or something like that. Let me look it up. It's not not that vibranium messes the movie Wakanda, but in real life they have African resource that they use to make everything. Let me see. What is what is the Uranium? Yeah, that's what it is. Uranium. I got it. I don't even need to finish typing. Uranium. That's what it is. They use that to make everything. Africa has loads of it. They wouldn't be able to make anything without uranium. Uranium. Wow. Wow. Okay, so this Pan African say they love Wakanda. Mm. You still there? Is Wakanda real? Then he put another comment in there. It says, I would love to interview you on my show because I know you would not have me on your show. You can most certainly come up here. But if you start talking like a crazy person, I'm going to kindly disconnect. Okay. I can't handle it. I'm not a psychologist. And I don't want to say things that it's not nice. Then he put a remark at Dollar Billionaire Brand. He says, so Donald Trump's family were white tethers of white Americans. Um, I don't really dabble. You see how you're trying to lead me into other stuff that to get me to say stuff that's, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying shit about the president family on here. Are you crazy? You're not about to trying to play me. Um, I'm not speaking anything against the president, okay? So I ain't even saying nothing about white tethers because that's them. They got to deal with their own community stuff that they got going on. But just to give you a little clarity on it, in American white culture, the white Americans that's considered white Americans when they come here, the white immigrants, they do not undermine white Americans. They fall in line with them. Do you understand? I remember a while back, some years ago, we were in a Walgreens somewhere, and they had this couple that came here from one of those Scandinavian countries or something like that, and they were like, "Yeah, they consider white, of course, in this country," and they like, "Hey, man, I love you guys. I think you guys are great." He was talking to this foundation of like American dude, and he was like, "Oh man, thank you, I appreciate that." He was like, "Yeah, man, they say all this about you guys, but I think you're great." And I turned to my son, I was like, give him a good 4 years here. Matter of fact, 2 years. He's gonna be saying something when the white Americans be like, "Oh, you think they great? So what are you saying? We're bad? You gonna lose all his jobs and everything?" Listen, they fall in place and they go along with it, even if they may not at heart agree with it, because we do understand that they coming from somewhere else, a different walk of life, and they don't have that mindset against other people like white Americans, but they're not going to undermine them. They probably just get up and lead a country. But you never find a lot of them that would speak against white America on air. Not in a way where they like, you're effing demons to these people. Why are you doing this? I've never seen that. Oh, I have seen a couple of them, but they don't come out in the most vulgar way. But I have seen that lady. There's an old white lady that talk like that. There's a Tim. I think his name is Tim something. And I think that's about it. So yeah, I don't really dabble into other people's culture. It's none of my business. I'm only concerned with bettering us because in this country, mm, I'm about bettering us. None of my business what other people's doing. We just want the Africans delineate from the Africans and the Caribbeans that's misrepresenting us and going against us. Why wouldn't you want us to delineate when you're working against us? You're trying to block our reparations. Like how? What? All right. So he says Again, my father and mother are from South Carolina. My origins are Gullah Geechee. I think this is dollar bill because you know the Caribbeans. When you tag them and be like, "I tag you, you're not a foundational Black American," then they switch up and be like, "I'm Gullah Geechee." I know some real Gullah Geechees, and you know what I noticed about them? They have a peculiar look to them. They really do. They have these. They all of them ain't dark skin, but they chocolate dip with this not rat face lip look, but it's a pointy face look. All the Gullah Geechees I know, they have that look to them. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. I've never really looked into Gullah Geechee um culture and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to look into that. 'Cause all the ones I know, they have that unique look. It's a few of them too. All right, so you Gullah Geechee. Hmm. Then at Dollar Billionaire Brand, he says, "My father was born in 1935." Okay, that's good. Then he says, "I didn't meet a Jamaican until," oh, this is definitely Dollar Bill. I've heard you speak these talking points on that big old head dude panel. Well, the one with the big old head. Got the nerves to call somebody fat. Then Dollar Billionaire Brand says, "I didn't meet a Jamaican until the," hey, you can come up by the way, Dollar Bill. I'm getting sleepy. I won't be on too long tonight because I'm really sleepy now. I've been talking for like 3 hours now. But he says, "I didn't meet a Jamaican until the late 1960s." Hmm. How old are you? Yeah, you got to be my daddy's age. In the late 1960s, you was a big guy, and you was old enough to 1960s. You sound like you was in high school, maybe middle school or high school. Okay, you about my daddy age. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. My mom and dad and them is born around the 60s. It's Dollar Bill. I know who you are. Then he says, "No, Wakanda is based on Pan African ideology." Yeah, did you know that before I said it? I didn't know that. And I've also found out Ryan Coogler made Wakanda. I didn't know that either. Well, he directed it or something. I didn't know that either. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I see how you're moving. You making movies based on, blackness. Okay. Then he said, "Drop the link so I can educate you." Oh, that was at 9:13. It's 9:50. I didn't see the comments though. I don't read the comments until I finish up what I'm trying to say. Tell us what the agenda is. Which agenda? Foundational Black Americans agenda or Pan Africans? Because, like I said, I'm about exposing the truth about the people among foundational Black Americans that's misrepresenting us and cosplaying us and tethering us. And definitely, they have shown who they are by trying to knock down our reparations fight continuously right in our face in this country. And they even went to Africa and tried to hijack it and send it all the way to Africa. Now, you can't get no more disrespectful than that. My goodness, that's a, tell us what the agenda is. I don't know whose agenda you're talking about. The opposite is true. They remove themselves from Black society. Then he says, "No, again, Pan Africans, Pan African means to work with other African people and nations." To do what? To work with other African people and nations. But when I look at America, there's nothing Pan African that's been established here. You guys assimilated into our culture, but I don't know of anything that has been created or established with founders like of different ethnicities that's considered black. I don't, you guys don't work together with us. Are you serious? Right here in this country. They couldn't do it in the UK. They couldn't do it right here in this country. And it was stumped out in the Caribbean. Then he says, how and what agenda? I have no idea what you're talking about. You cannot tell us what agenda because you don't know what. Oh, you're talking about the Pan Africans agenda. They're just trying to globalize all black people to be, they're trying to Africanize all black people to be one minded, which will never happen. If you want to get somewhere, you have to respect people's ethnic group. You have to meet them where they are. Respect their ethnicities and their nationalities. And then you can talk with them about how to come together to work together. But if you want to just Africanize them and have them put on an African cloth and denounce their true identities and culture, that's not going to happen. It's not happening. That's why I kind of think it's crazy too. Feminism started by a white woman on Long Island. Yes, it did start with white women. But look into it. Many Caribbean women practice Marxist feminism. Look into it. Then he said, I'm happy to teach you, Chantell. That's dollar bill spelling my name with one L. It's two L's, baby. Then he says, what is our agenda in America? To Africanize foundational Black Americans. We are the ones that have a spotlight shined on us. So anytime anybody wants some fame and notarization, you know what they do? They come and F with us. In particular, foundational Black American women. They come and mess with us. I don't know why. It's pretty weird. But they'll come and mess with us because they want some attention. Because we have the spotlight on us. And so Pan Africans, I told you, it didn't work out in the UK, it did work out in the Caribbean. Here, they think because we move as one, foundational Black Americans, we speak one language, move as one, we're the same. It's easier to root Pan Africanism in us. It was at first, but we always had some brothers that be like, nah, man, shake that right there. We ain't no Africans. Man, you see them politicians, they always have some brothers be like, when the brothers get there, like, nah, man, that, you know how to on a what they call that show, King of the Hill, with the Southern accents. Nah, man, they sit around and have they build. Nah, man, that right now ain't right, man. Something about that's fishy, man. Nah, them people ain't about us, man. Them people wrong one, man. They don't even come to our churches, man. Them people don't want nothing to do with us, man. Come on now, let's be honest, man. Men and women, them women right there. Men and women right there, they don't have no respect for male leadership. Nah, man. Don't call us no Africans. They always have some brothers and sisters that's like squinchy eyed. And then he informed the rest of us. All right, so I will teach you, and more people will listen and learn from you. Because of me, you might get more followers. Let me address that because I be hearing a lot of people talk about you can't get no views and all that. Child, I ain't do nothing to this channel. I just opened up the channel to go at it with a big old head Pan African who was talking a lot of crap. And I was like, you think you're the only one that can open up a damn channel and act stupid and talk crazy? That's why I opened the channel up to talk crazy right back. But I ended up coming into foundational Black American panels and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's what's up. I didn't know y'all was out there. I didn't know until I got my own channel. Okay. And so that's what the channel was started for. But I haven't done anything with the channel. This is not a professional. You can look at it and see it's not a professional channel. If I was going to actually start the channel to be on some type of win-win subscribers and stuff, it would be very much looking different than what it looks. Okay. You know that. I haven't done anything with the channel because it's not my priority right now. I have other things I have to do that's more important than the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, I can talk on here. I would like to do it more often, but I be busy. That's I have other priorities. This is not a priority right now. Okay, that's how that goes. And so, I haven't done anything with the channel. I haven't fixed it up. I haven't dibble and dabble like set this up to be a professional channel, even though it has the capabilities. And when I get to it, I get to it. But it's not set up like that. So concerning the viewership could be more if I, fix it up more and maybe get some bots like a lot of y'all do. Okay, because ain't no MFer got no straight up organic viewership. Okay. Um, so yeah, my channel isn't I haven't even begun to have oh my gosh. Oh, I clicked the button. I hope I'm still alive. Let me see if I'm still alive on the stream. Because I clicked the button by mistake. Oh no, I think I'm still alive. So anyways, yeah. Anyways, I'm the only one on your comment section. Well, I just explained that. Actually, when I do these live streams, I can do a live stream by recording and then gain followers from there and all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that. I like to interact with the people sometimes, so you know, I open up my comment section for people to interact and engage in the comments. It doesn't matter how many people is there because that's not why I come on. I come on to speak my piece, whether you agree or not. This is Miss Chantell's channel. You're welcome to come in and you're welcome to click the hell off. Okay. People don't move how I move. They don't move me, is what I'm saying. I'm gonna do what I want to do, regardless to if the chat box is empty. So see, that's the difference between you and I. You are moved by people giving you feedback. I'm not moved by that. Okay. All right. So the chat box is just strictly for people to engage in a conversation with each other, with me. It's not, you know, okay, you would, and I must be pretty interesting to you considering you the only one in my chat box. And you wanna click that link and come up. He says you will get shocked and amazed by learning because reading is fundamental. See these Caribbeans, whew, and these Africans, what make them think they smarter than us, foundational Black Americans? Where do these people get the idea that they're smarter than us? Caribbeans and Africans, you can't even catch up to what foundational Black Americans have done in this country. And we ain't talking about just the labor. You could never catch up. You're talking people that invented the digital cell phone that you're on right now. The telephone that he sold in a white man patent, he's credited with the invention, but most certainly didn't invent it. They had car manufacturing companies that produced the best cars. They had bus services that was bought out. You have no idea about my people's history. The computer you own, the color monitor, the flashlight, the neon lights, the gigahertz, the chips, the freaking light bulb, doorknob, elevator doors, the elevators, telephone things and inside the elevators. Oh yeah, that's them too. Um, fire escape ladders, fire extinguishers, mailbox system and mailbox. Hold on. Refrigerator and refrigerator what they call that? Refrigerated trucks. Don't let them think my people ain't created. They created the refrigerator too. The dry cleaning service. They created a method of dry cleaning service. This that one of the African guys couldn't even believe it. That's the Asians invention. No, it's not, sweetheart. The Asians invented it. No, they didn't, sweetheart. Foundational Black American man invented it. Cut it out. The dryer, dry cleaning service. Lawn sprinkler that rotates, fishing pole, rotating fishing line, 3D web, the halo stuff. You know how they be having that halo image of like singers and stuff like that. The halo image, um, like I say, 3D web, game console, ink pen, something I'm holding in my hand right now. The ink pen, baby. Microphone, hearing it, the microphone pattern laid out a lot of other, it laid out the path for a lot of other inventions like hearing aids and stuff like that, speakers and stuff. Um, what else? Baby, it's so much. Let me think off the top of my head. Brown paper bags that was used in grocery stores and school lunches. The brown paper bag in the machine that makes them. What else, baby? Come on, girl. Think, girl. Come on, quickly. I'm trying to think quickly. Um, Ice cream, potato chips, even desserts like that. Listen, after all that slave cotton growing and stuff, they couldn't even grow no veggies in the country no more with all that cotton had dried out the land. It was one of my people, Carver Washington, that taught them how to make the soil moist again so they can continue to grow food on the land. They wouldn't have had no idea how to grow food on the land. I'll tell you what they created, all right. They created diseases and patent them and stuff and mass weapons of destruction and shit and all of that kind of stuff. White people didn't create that kind of stuff. They create things to contribute to society to help people. Um, I'm trying to think. Blood banks, first open heart surgeon, first person to what they call it, separate Siamese twins. First the inventor of heart pace, the pacemaker, like an artificial heart. Um, First doctor to remove cataracts so people can see again. Curling iron, you know the hair curlers that you use, hair clippers, popularized fingernails. Yeah, they popularized fingernails and beauty stuff and eyelashes. Our women was wearing all that stuff back in the singing days, Diana Ross days and even before then. Um, Betty Boop, originally a black woman. And they took her whole character and put it on their women. What else, honey? Oh, yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's see, technology, medical. We know the music industry popping because of us. I don't need to go through that. Entertainment, art. You know our art was popping, right? They just legitimized their art because they put money behind it. But that's not really art. When you take a cat and dip its paws and its paws into paint and then have it walk all over the canvas. That's not really art. But our people, oh, they can put together. They can draw us up some stuff, baby. Very artistic, very creative people. Um, Drums. They created the drums and so much more. Yes, indeed. I was still trying to think of more. I used to always tell my son, Sprinkler, fishing pole. A whole lot more inventions they invented and wasn't credited with because these people stole their inventions and stuff like that. I mean, look at you. You telling us that you believe in Wakanda and they stole Wakanda's vibranium and built mass weapons of destructions with it, I guess. So, at least my people really actually invented this. Your people have an imaginary Wakanda where, you know, they stole your vibranium. That's the difference. All right, let me hurry up and close this out because I'm tired. I'm almost at 4 hours, right? I didn't mean to do a long stream like this at all. You will get shocked and amazed by learning because reading is fundamental. Oh, I forgot to answer that. These Caribbeans and Africans have the audacity to think that they're smarter than us. Oh my goodness gracious! Clutch my pearls. You are 300 years behind us. Hello. Oh my gosh, these people is a trip. He says, are only 6 million people against 45 million really I'm gonna say threat and an enemy against you? Or only 6 million people against 45 million? When it comes to statistics, we don't know what's what right now. We got to do our own census. We have to delineate and find a way to do our own census on everything because these people didn't group us up with y'all. We don't know who's who and all that old kind of stuff. We don't know. Okay. Talking about 6 million, might be more of you. And no, you're not a threat, but you're working against us. So therefore, we have to delineate. If you're working against us, be honest with yourself, Dollar Bill. If your people is sitting up there constantly knocking down our reparations policies and things we're trying to get pushed, are you not moving like an enemy? Africans try to hijack your people too, the Pan Africans and who's try to hijack our reparations all the way to Africa. Do you not recognize when you're moving like an enemy? You're not that you no mind. Can't even tell the truth. Mm-mm-mm. Tell us the reason and mission. I just found out that the Philadelphia sound was heavily influenced by Caribbeans. Philadelphia sound. Do you know? I don't know which Caribbeans you're talking about, but Jamaica was heavily obsessed with James Brown in the 60s. Like they were crazed out Michael Jackson fans. But it was James Brown who they was crazed out for. Fanatics. Super fanatics. Caribbeans ain't influenced crap when it comes to foundational Black Americans. Okay? You didn't bring nothing over here except that, what they call that mess? Because I done been to a few Jamaican clubs. All that old crazy stuff. All that right there. That's nothing new, honey. That's Africans been doing that way before you guys. And then you say, I can't wait to debate you and you can bring your computer with you. We're gonna do it next. We're gonna do it tomorrow. Because I'm sleeping tonight. But tomorrow, hit the link. It's gonna be an open panel for you to hit the link. All right. Then he says feminism was started in America, not in the Caribbean. Look it up. Um, so feminism, Marxist feminism, you look that up. Drop the link, please. That was 9:52. It's now 10:11. And I'm tired, but I can't debate you tonight or really carry the conversation because I'm kind of sleepy. But I will go live to debate you tomorrow. I'll have an open panel just for you to hit the link and come up. Give you time to go and do your readings. Now you just remember, Dollar Bill, because that's who it is. You just remember. I'm not from the 60s or 70s, all right? I'm a little bit younger than you. So, you know, Don't be bringing up stuff from the 60s and 70s, okay? Can't wait to talk to you. Okay. This is your chance, Chantel. My channel is Organic celebrating 248 members at Ubuntu King. At Ubuntu King. Oh, this is Dollar Bill. Yeah, you're welcome to come up and talk. No problem. As long as you be respectful. So have to drop the link. No, I'm not gonna. I told you I ain't gonna do it tonight. That was at 10 o'clock. You asked me it's 10:12. I ain't gonna do it tonight because I'm tired and I'm about to go to sleep. But I'll do it tomorrow when I come live tomorrow to be a little bit earlier, probably about 6 or 7. So let me see. I don't feel like talking tonight, so I'm not gonna drop it tonight. I'm sleepy. And then I'm gonna be ignoring you because I'm sleepy. I'm really not gonna be able to engage in conversation with you. And then he says, I told you she don't want to talk to me just at me by calling me a Caribbean. That's what I think you are, but I'll prove that tomorrow. Drum come from the Congo. No, the drum don't come from no Congo or from no parts of Africa. People been beating on stuff. Hold on. Hey. So the drum don't come from no Congo or Africa because, honey, people been beating on stuff everywhere a long time ago. It's some things that, like the stove, for instance. People been cooking and all that. Like, that's not something that was invented by one person. Okay. And then he says, my father is 90 years old. That's good. I hope he's going along, continue strong. Huff and gumbo. Gabbo. Okay, I will be there, Chantell. Yeah, tomorrow around 6 or 7. I'm gonna go ahead and log off tonight. I am sleepy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the commentary, okay? Wakanda!